Yeah, we talked about that the other day. We put it on, but when Lynn emailed us, I didn't respond to her because I knew it was on here. I wanted to see what the outcome was here, and then I was going to get back to her, but you had already done it. So,
this time is going so fast, meetings and budget and all.
I know, that's why Don and I talked about it, and we decided to put it on here for discussion to bring it forward, you know what I mean? But,
Okay, so Bill, you move the motion
yes,
for the agenda?
I did.
With
the addition.
With the
Yes,
addition.
with the
Yes, I can.
Yeah.
So the first item under new business then is to dissolve the ward bylaw. So with it being an election year, it is council's obligation to review the current ward bylaw. And again, just as a reminder, the ward bylaws for the election purposes only. So our current ward bylaw, which is bylaw number 1642, 2003, has broken the municipality into 2 wards with 2 council members appointed from each location. And again, as a reminder, it doesn't matter where you live in the municipality, you can run for either ward as it is right now. So I have prepared for your consideration, if you so wish, a bylaw to bring forward to dissolve the wards, if that is something council chooses to do at this time.
Sure. Actually, you guys should.
Okay,
Change
You should.
places.
Do you want it?
Well, yeah, I think.
Do you want
Yeah, but you're good there, okay. Don't hold it against me, Mr. Chairperson.
No, well, I'll direct you.
Mr. Chairperson,
I had
I know it's not like you only need a motion to move forward, but did we by any chance do a cost analysis on what it cost us for 6 counselors going down to 4? I think there was a substantial
At that,
cost
at
saving
that
then.
time, there was, yes.
Now everything is increased, so that's the first.
And that's the other thing. This bylaw is not changing the number of council
No.
members. It was leaving it the same at 5.
Sorry,
Well, 4 council and
4
1.
counselors.
Yeah.
Okay. So all this is doing is to go at large.
All this is doing is to go at large for election purposes.
And to be honest with you, I have absolutely no problem. To me, every councillor should look at it. We're representing, is it 45 or 30, 4,800 people down at the end of the day.
I think we're about, well, we're 45, but I think it's 4568
Yeah,
now.
I'm gonna say 4,500. I have absolutely no problem going at large. I also see good when you got people in the areas, but to me, I think Councilor Wasserberg will agree with me. We kind of stay away from the roads as much as possible. I rely on our Public Works Department, but when there's multiple calls, I will go out there just to see and witness if those people have indeed a good concern. So either way, I'm okay with it. I'd like to hear what other councils have to say. I have no problem going to at large or staying in a certain system. I want to.
Mr. Chairperson.
Yes.
I would like to leave the ward system the way it is. And to support this, I will read out of the municipal code book. Must try to achieve an approximately equal number of residents in each ward. That's what we did. May take into consideration community or diversity of interest, topographical features, settlement patterns, and population trend. Now, when you look at the river dividing more or less here in the middle, roughly. You know, when you look at the northern part, you got 2, 3, maybe 4 settlement centers. And the southern part is more or less strictly farming or smaller holdings happening. And we have walked around everything like they were not really big issue. But when I go back, when I started and everything else, there was a little animosity. I don't think it's there anymore, but for the purpose of looking at them, whatever the 2 halves, I would like to leave it the way it is. and we still kind of like overreaching. There's times whatever, somebody phones up here, either me or Councilor Hoofman, whatever, and explained whatever, if some of the other councilors are not reachable or so on, we can work with that too. But in the meantime, just for the purpose of looking at the division, whatever, I would like to leave it the way it is.
Say, well,
Yeah, I would like to leave it the way it is, just because of it, like Kurt says, the diversity of the RM farm on one side, small holdings or communities on the north side. People feel more comfortable talking to people in the area, if someone has a problem, talk to the council out their area. Feel more comfortable with somebody that know or possibly understand the farming end of it type of thing. So, I'm fine with it the way it is at the moment.
what do you think? I don't have a problem either way, but I can see that it possibly could create some problems because we always have a bit of a segregation between the north and the south. This way, the way it is now, I think it's set up so it's a bit more fair because of just what Rob was saying about the community end of the situations. They might not feel that they're being represented equally. I'm not sure. Like, this is still all new to me, and I understand that it wasn't long ago that this was tried to be done before, and it stayed the same. So we're at the table here again today to find out whether, what people are thinking on this council, and to try and do it so that it's fair for the residents is what I think we should be looking at. And representation is part of the whole equation. So I think I would rather it stay the way it is, just because it's working. I don't know how it would work the other way. I'm not sure.
I would leave it working really good the way it is. Bob and I, we kind of split under someone else that we got. On life, I think. And,
Well, I'll just make a comment here. When I hear the word animosity, division, that's not the language. One of the reasons I'm saying I can go both ways. And I don't think Mr. or Councilor Wasserberg meant it to, there's animosity, but I look at it, we're one big community. One day we'll need that corner or whatever, the other day, the next corner. I look at it, when I got elected on council, I knew I couldn't care if it was Ward 1, Ward 3, Ward 9. It didn't matter to me. I just felt I'm in here representing 4,500 people. And I know, and I do understand what Councilor Eckert and Councilor Brown are saying. It's quite a distance. I understand that very fully. So I can go either way. I'm not, I would just like this council and the next council that's going on to look at this community. We are one community. Forget about the wards. Just, we are one big community, and we need to work together for everybody, not just for a segregated corner or whatever. There's so much opportunity out there. So I'm not gonna be long-winded. I can go either way. But if you want to take your vote, then I'm okay with it.
Council would need to, at this point, at the committee level, make a recommendation to
Yeah.
council, and then we would bring a formal.
I'll make a
resolution.
recommendation then, basically, to move forward and leave the ward system out. That's it. I mean, obviously,
I second it.
It's 3:22.
Tender level. You want me to take a for
You don't trip there.
So we are moving on to
Item 3.2 for the gravel tenders. We're getting late in the season, so committee is gonna have to make a decision here on what, on how we're gonna proceed, because I can't put the tenders out if you guys.
if we don't have an agreement what we want. Go ahead, Sam.
Yeah, Mr. No, you're the Mr. Chair.
Well,
Okay,
for
you're-
now I am,
you're-
yes.
When I looked at the documents here in the last number of weeks that
Mhm.
that was handed to us,
Yeah.
I want to make sure our roads are right. The one thing that we don't have at our disposal, this is gravel, whether it's 12% clay or 25% clay, it's gravel. It's, people look at it, it's gravel. This eats probably with the graders and everything, probably 60 to 70% of our total transportation budget. I'm gonna make a recommendation here, folks, just a recommendation. And I'm not gonna offend anybody or try to offend anybody. When I look at this document, we did our best, and I voted in the past the way it's written up. I really believe, folks, my fellow council members, we need outside help to reword this document. There's too many.
Before we put the tender out.
Yeah, before we put the tender out, and I'm gonna make a recommendation. We've got a professional engineer that is about to put out a tender for a major project in this municipality. If I would make a recommendation for that reason, they do that for a living. We don't do that. And no offense to anybody around this council chamber, we're trying to do our best. I really believe we need to look at this plus, just so people understand, this is just for the road gravel. We need to include the other material
That's right.
as one big package. I'm gonna make a recommendation for the CAO. 2 or 3 days, not gonna hurt it. There's 3 feet of snow out there, -30. I'm gonna make a recommendation to contact the municipal engineer, Dan Burns, to see if we would like to assist us putting it in his hands, reword this document. There's just too much money involved. I mean, we got a document the other day, we had a meeting. We're talking in excess of potentially $750,000 worth of gravel, if the money is there. But are we going there? Probably not. I don't want that burden if there's loose ends, and the goal here is to put everybody comfortable, every contractor, especially the residents, in a position where this thing is done right. You know, it's just too ambiguous.
Council over, should that include that there might be some,
The projects.
some inclusion like that Daniel would say, okay, you don't need, let's say or you should update your maintenance gravel because the roads are getting pounded into dust, whatever, instead of, let's say what we're doing 120, you need 140, 150, whatever, so we have to up it, something like that.
Mr. Chairperson, that was my next point. Yeah, on the agenda.
It'll give us a better direction on where we
Yes,
need to focus. right?
when we get to the other things that we added, the road concerns, we need his help. We don't have the qualifications, and again, no offense to anybody. We just don't have the expertise. They do that for a living. Here, this engineer, and we can tie this all together. I'm even we should lean on him to see will a 2 or 3 year contract be best to
Yeah.
really
Yes.
get our best bang for our buck to nail this down. So it's a professional document done by a professional engineer. They do that. I mean, they
Yeah.
built the
The only
Holiday Inn, and I bet you if you would look at that tender document, I don't know, I bet you that thing's 200 pages long.
as long as we set some parameters for a timeline,
Absolutely.
I think that's a wonderful idea because again, it helps us and it's another tool in the toolbox for us to be able to move forward to give these folks a better idea of where their money's going and what we're spending their money on and actually how bad the roads are.
And
Because we've got some roads out there right now that are down to almost dirt.
well, and Mr. Chairperson, that's exactly my next thing. I may as well say, well, we got roads out there. Here we're signing development agreements and it ties into this. Why we're gonna hire an engineer for a couple $1,000s to help us with this. We've got residential subdivisions that we signed development agreement. And we're calling for 2-3 feet of fill, and we've got roads that now contractors are coming. They wanna make like a subpar residential road into a truck road. We need his guidance. I mean, that's
Yes.
why he went to university.
I totally agree.
To help us with.
I totally agree.
I suggest.
I would almost include in that study what's happening up on the hill for Gray Road and Marsden and we've got it coming.
It came.
Okay,
It came to me.
okay.
Mr. Chairman, that's
Yes.
a real good point, but let Gray Road be a separate project. This
Okay.
is just to, in all fairness, we're right in the budget season and the CAO
Well,
needs
I
numbers.
don't want to hold up
Yeah.
our contractors when they have to crush
No, I think we
material
should.
either, because we're getting tight on a timeline
Yeah.
here for these
Yeah,
projects as well.
I'm gonna make the recommendation, Mr. Chairperson. Or else.
Well, I have no problem with this either, but we're on a strict timeline.
Yeah,
Uh, It's gotta be done quickly.
yeah, yeah.
And
That's what I said. If we set parameters for
and
dates,
find out what it
and
costs.
he can do it and give us a cost evaluation.
Yeah.
And then I think if we need to have a special meeting or whatever to decide, that I think that's the route is to go. Is everybody okay with that?
I'm okay with
I,
that.
Yeah.
I support the recommendation.
Yeah,
And also like dividing Grand Valley Road from this Grand Valley Road might take longer, like. when you
Yes,
have
absolutely.
yeah,
other problems,
yeah,
there might be
exactly.
2 or 3 years. And we should not tie it into this. It's separate, whatever. In
Yeah.
the meantime, we should move around ahead in that direction too.
so has anybody got a projected date or time or
Yeah.
month that you want to put on it for
Like right away.
maximum? Well,
Well,
it would have been nice to have it yesterday, but
Mr. Chairman, but I think Donna would have a better idea of timeline for what she has to do
right.
to make it work for the budget. or
So,
get
so did
tenders
you
or-
want to work that out with Daniel then?
Here's what I've got
Okay.
then, from Councilor Hofer, that we direct the CAO to contact the municipal engineer to assist council in reworking the gravel tender documents and to provide council some direction on the gravel program for the municipality and to get a cost and a timeline.
Just Mr. Chairperson, I want to make sure that every yard of gravel, whether it's 5% clay, the whole package, and he had, I think they have a lab in their facility. That's what he told us a year ago. They're getting ready to, so he might be able
Dan
to
is?
talk with them.
I'll just
Okay.
put
I haven't
Okay.
seen it. but
direction on the municipal gravel
Yes.
program.
One,
I'm okay with
Chairperson, one more point that just got to my mind when you look at the surrounding areas, when you look at the towns and so on. The decisions are made, it's material, its costs are made by the CEO, by the bureaucrats and the suppliers, whatever, councillors, whatever, they approve it, but they don't have any hand into whatever. So if this works, whatever, we know what we're doing, then in the future, not next year or the year after, but in the future, maybe just between Donna and the people that will apply for the contracts. You know what I'm saying?
I think Daniel will give us a,
Once we have the baseline. You know.
Mr. Chairperson, or another engineer. I
Yeah,
guess we deal with him on the lagoon projects and Gray Road, if he wants to assign a junior engineer to help us with rewording.
well, we'll let Donna figure out what his timeline is,
Okay,
I
so-
think would be the next step.
So that motion came from Councilor Hofer.
Yep.
Kurt? Anybody wish to speak to that anymore? I'll call for the question. All in favor? Right on. We can call Emil back in.
Yes. Okay.
You were fell asleep.
No, did. Rocking chair.
It's all yours. 3.3.
3.3.
Yes. hammer that.
Three.
Pesticide tender.
So again, this is another tender item that we need to make a decision on so that we can go forward and get a tender submitted. So Councillor Hofer had done a cost breakdown and sent it to me for inclusion today. And I actually went a little bit farther and broke it down a little bit farther, which is that additional cost breakdown. Because I also included the 16 and 17 contract price.
Yes.
Yeah.
Mr. Chairperson.
Yes. It's
I'm
okay.
sorry.
It's all right.
Would it be okay to show the residents out there the additional cost breakdown? There's no secrecy.
Let me,
Show them, if you don't mind, Mr. Chairperson, the CEO, show them what I did with the information that the CEO provided to me a year ago. And just a simple Microsoft bar and graph. It's a pretty impressive what you see. That's what, well, in my opinion, what we need to do is we can pick a number, what the threshold would be, and do a cost analysis. So the numbers are on the screen. It's so much easier to
okay,
analyze.
I'm going to attempt to do this screen share.
Can you folks see that? Okay.
No, not really. Should be a part.
Well, hang on a second, I haven't got the document in there yet.
Someone,
Mr. Chairperson, Council Hofer, did you take in consideration the extra cost of fuel in the graph for this year?
in the,
Or,
no,
or this just to be previous on?
yeah, let's
No.
just bring it up.
Okay.
And then, good question there. I just went with the chemical invoices that the CEO provided to me last year. The contract prices, that's the only two parameters I had, and the 200-mile, that's a constant. But the graph is very, very impressive. So that's,
Is that better?
yeah, that's
Yeah.
really good.
Okay.
Yeah, you can clearly see, Mr. Chairperson, when I put together a Microsoft bar chart, 216, there's a real curve increased. Our mileage didn't increase, but our chemical consumption did. So now the CEO, I only had four years of contract. The CEO now injected, I didn't have that data.
Yeah, so I just dug a little bit deeper then.
Yeah, if you want to scroll up. But
Yeah, so the.
There.
Yeah. So as I recall, because it's so long ago, but in 2016, council just allocated a specific dollar value into it. And then the contractor worked with the value that we had given to purchase as much chemical as he possibly could. And so in 2016, we actually purchased $8,235 worth of chemical. And the contract cost at that time was $30,160. In 2017, the contract cost was $29,120, and we purchased $13,341 worth of chemical. Now, those beginning years up to 2020, we originally started with 2,4-D and Banville. Then Banville was discontinued, I believe is what happened, where the cost was,
It actually goes under a different name. now.
okay. So maybe Ingenia is
Regina.
Banville, yeah, Regina,
It's
okay.
got the can, but
Okay, so then we're doing a combination to get the weeds under control. And so that was the combination up until 2020. And then the contractor had said to us, we don't need to use the angina any longer because the 2,4-D, they've got it under control out there, so the 2,4-D will be able to do the job.
that's why the number of jugs and the cost for the chemical came down.
Yeah, because the angina is quite an expensive product. It's only an 8-liter jug, but the cost of it varied from originally $237 in 2017 all the way up to $280. The other product of the 2,4-D, it varies as well with the year. $80 in 16, went down to $68.87 for 2 years in a row. It jumped to $100 in 19, back down to 80 and 80. We did some checking today, and quantities for what our program might need, we could be in trouble this year because of all the stuff that's happening in the world, but Cargill really only has 105 jugs in stock, and they're $157. Suregrow, 102, but they have none in stock. And Co-op only has 40 on hand at $99.80. They have another 40 that are coming in. They don't know for sure what that cost is yet. And they don't know whether they'll be able to get more after that or not. Now, those are in the 10-liter jugs.
Mr. Chairperson.
Yes.
One question, are all those applications being done by the same contractor?
Yes, that's the same contractor.
All the same contractor.
Yeah, we've had the same contractor since, for sure, 2015, because I didn't go back any farther.
Yeah, no, just comparison. Good one.
Mr. Chairperson,
Yes.
when you look at that graph, the CEO put those first 2 bars, and can you scroll up there?
Yes, for sure, yeah.
16, 17,
Mhm.
that is, I have a real concern with that. And I'm glad actually, and a thank you to the CEO for putting the first 2 bars in there. That's why it's important to analyze data. Giving it to us like on a sheet of paper doesn't cut it. Just look at the,
Well,
no, just,
yeah.
excuse me. I don't know how many contractors out there, like 6 years ago, we started at 30 and it's declining. And like with the same equipment, that's a concern I've got. I'd like to really ask a lot of questions, and then I'd really like an agronomist to look at this carefully. Yeah, this is data. We have to look at it. It's true. But when we go to the next document, Mr. Chairperson, the tender, folks, I will not support that tender. I mentioned a month ago, we've got nothing telling us how many acres that chemical sprayed. No.
The good part is we know how much road we're spraying. So unless the contractor or applicator does really an in-depth check if it's working or not and brings the bar up or down, which is more or less, there's, if the stuff stays the same or it gets worse, then you should use more material. But just the fluctuation, whatever, it goes back what Councilor Hoover says, we have to look at it like from a scientific
Mr. Chairman,
Yeah.
actually, we shouldn't even be talking here. One of the things, I mean, I'm gonna defer right after this. We haven't even identified how many acres right there. Because the way this is written, somebody could actually spray our entire municipality probably with 1 jug, and we'll buy 40. Where's the other stuff? But we need to define how long the boom is. We need to define what roads are excluded. This is a blank check for somebody to really take advantage of a poorly written proposal or tender. I think there again, we need to take it to a professional and including a agronomist. Folks, we cannot touch that. If the public would see this, they would I'd be really concerned if I was the public and not knowing we're not doing our due diligence. It's a very wide open ended. We don't specify how long the boom is. how many acres, the first thing we have to do is to get the acres down or the strength. We've got nothing in that contract. And folks, we need to, I'm gonna make a recommendation, if nobody has any concerns, to take it to an agronomist with the help of writing another properly worded tender.
Mr. Chairperson, going that road, I don't have a problem supporting that, but with all the previous tenders, we only had one return, right?
That's correct.
But
Yeah.
we never had 2 or 3, whatever, so we could choose. Now, if you make it too complicated, I'm not saying we should stay in control, whatever, depends what's in there. We might just get none.
Mr. Chairperson, I've reached out to three, and they're saying if we're gonna go 3 or 5 years, they're in.
Well,
Because then you can buy a piece of capital equipment. So if you can do that, actually, the next question I got, our neighboring municipalities around, if you look at their financial sheets, I spent the last 2 weeks looking at our neighboring municipalities, at their audited financial sheets. They're hardly using any chemicals. The question I've got, why are we spraying? Number one, we got told we're mandated by the province. Well, the province isn't following their mandate because none of the highways in our municipality, I believe, got sprayed last year because they were gonna piggyback, correct me if I'm wrong.
No,
on-
they didn't.
Yeah, so
Did they not do that?
Elton did have a section that was completed,
Okay,
okay? But we
So-
didn't because it got left too late.
it was too late, but they were working on it, and I think it's ready for this year. They've got everything in place with the wording and
They haven't
the
provided
contractor
anything
and all that stuff.
I-
But with that said, we've got to keep in mind those prices are possibly going to be a little bit different because of the fuel. And like you say, we need to review that tender. And are we going to think about putting a sliding scale in for the fuel? Or are we just going to have it level across the board that it's this much money allocated and then that's it? Because there's pros and cons, right? For that contractor.
Mr. Chair, we have to be fair. That's why we need professional help.
Yeah.
No offense to anybody, I don't have that. Our professional, an engineer would, first thing he would, when he gets to that portion, proof of chemicals. We will bear the cost if we choose to spray. If there's a 35% increase, we have to bear that cost. We gotta be fair. Same with fuel. If they can establish, that's the nice thing about 3 to 5 year contracts, let them put in there, but I think we should offer to them, we will offset the chemical costs, whatever they change, and we need their invoices, same thing with the fuel.
So you're thinking an agronomist and an engineer.
An engineer,
Which engineer company are you thinking?
Daniel,
Okay,
but Daniel
For
Burns.
the
Yes.
pesticide as well?
Just to write the contract, just to write the contract, an
to
agronomist.
word it,
Word it.
yes.
An agronomist will, we need it from her or him. Give them, they're gonna need some information from us. The first thing we have to establish, how many mile roads, how far do we wanna go in the ditch?
Yeah.
She or him will figure out the acreages, then you include that in their cost. Let them buy all the chemicals.
Yeah.
We should not be involved in buying chemicals no longer. That's a third party, liability.
Just for some information, no, I was looking. 25 feet blue. It's easy math. 1 mile, 1 ditch mile, 3 acres. So we have 400 ditch miles, 1,200 acres.
Yeah, we have 416 ditch miles,
So
25-foot boom comes out to 1,260 acres. And this came right from Susan.
Susan.
Yes. And then she looked at the label recommendations on the A-line 600, which is what we use. And that would be 1,386 liters.
Much.
1,386
If you
liters.
go back to the chart, so you can see we were a little bit over on the average.
Yeah.
So, like I say, it's not in a tender document though.
But exactly.
Yeah.
Because we never had this before, right? That's what you had requested we do this, yeah.
So I think we need to, in my opinion,
Reword it.
defer it,
Mhm.
get the wording
Yeah.
right in the
Yes.
tender and get an agronomist.
No.
Now, yeah, that is the recommendations, but maybe we need to
Well, this
relook.
is,
If Elton doesn't spray,
well, they mow. They mow 3 times a year,
that was my next thing.
but they also have their own mower and their own staff member that does that.
And their own track.
And their own tractor, and we have ditches that we can spray 25 feet, but we certainly can't mow. That's just something for your consideration. But I'll just read you what Susan did say. She said there are multiple formulations and concentrations of the 2,4-D have included the rates for the amine 5 and the amine 600. The ester formulations are more volatile and therefore have greater potential for injury to off-target areas adjacent cropland due to the vapor drift. In addition, there are many different manufacturers and therefore different container sizes. Most commonly, it's sold in cases of 2 times 10-liter jugs or a 200-liter tote. There are herbicides that may be better suited to controlling leafy spurge, thistles, brush, and other invasive species such as Nevis and milestone, or this is outside my area of expertise. It would be best to consult with your local weed supervisor to get more information on that. Please let me know if there's anything that I can do to help you. Now, that brings us to the next point. Your weed supervisor is currently a public works person who had to take the courses to get his certification, which he is leaving. Council's required by law to appoint a new weed supervisor, and that person has to have those credentials.
Mr. Chairperson, does it have to be an employee or contractor?
Well, we had talked about the potential of having the contractor be our weed supervisor. It can be whoever council so wishes. They just need to ensure that they have the credential to be, they have to take the course.
Yeah, so Mr. Chair, that's an easy one. I would, for a start, go get your chemical costs.
Mhm.
Just as a start, and ask them if they would be willing to ask all 3 companies. If they'd be willing to
Get the
be
credentials.
well, I'm sure in the agronomist.
Yeah, well, that's what you mean on our tender
Yes.
document?
But no,
No.
wherever we buy our chemicals from, if they would be willing to come, the RMS Cornwallis weed inspector or weed supervisor, whatever you want to call it.
But those employees at those places probably don't have the credentials. You have to take your classes through ACC. You have to take there's 2 of them. One is the pesticide core and the other is the municipal spray or something. It's called.
Municipal spray one is different than all the rest.
Yes, it is.
And like say like the Sherwood Grove, I think them employees that run the big outfits for the farmland, I think that's a different one altogether.
Applicator, license, like,
But while we're rewriting this and getting a hold of the agronomist, what they can do to sign off saying, there's your application. So when people ask, who's making the decisions? The agronomist, that's the advisement. And look for at Whitehead, Oakland, and things like that, Mr. Chairperson.
Mr. Chairperson, how much work is there involved for the weed supervisor? Does anybody have an idea?
Well, your weed supervisor is the one that would work with council, which he did originally when the program started. Originally, we had that old truck and our staff actually did the spraying in that old truck, right? And then it got to the point where that truck was done. It was unsafe for our staff to be in that truck. But we continue to ensure that Pete had his courses so that we could name him.
So he goes out there and checks the different spots, like the yellow stuff is not all to the same strength.
Yeah.
Like we have a few on here, but other parts are yellow, more or less. No, I'm thinking of the box, whatever. Hour-wise, would it be possible to talk to the gentleman that looks after the water plant? He's willing to take the course? Like, I don't, just see that we have somebody on staff, whatever, and hiring and, but first, yes, he wants to be willing to do it.
And it all depends on
Time-wise,
well,
yeah.
what happens with the new staff member that will be coming on, right?
Yeah. No, just, an idea.
Mr. Chairman. Also, the timeline to get into this course at ECC. They don't offer that course and all through the season. I think it's just spring and certain date, and that's what it is. Can't get registered. So
I've got a recommendation. I mean,
Yeah, let me just find it us back here, Sam. There we go. Yeah,
Could you just,
yeah,
could you just read the recommendation?
yeah, Sam's gonna make it right now.
I'm gonna make a recommendation to hand this tender document over to, again, see if Daniel Burns from Burns Medell can help us with it, and to put, give the CEO the authority or the authorization to go check from a chemical supplier to see if they have somebody there that could act as our weed inspector. She can get back to us and call second special meeting, and we'll see if we can hire somebody just for that task.
Okay, everybody.
I second that recommendation.
Okay. Every-
If they can't do it, then we can look outside of the box. Maybe one of our transfer station guys would step up to the plate. But let's do this part first, and then we'll review. Sorry, I won't carry on.
3.4. Trappers.
Compensation policy.
Yeah.
Okay, so I have reworked the compensation policy for council to review and see what you would like to do with this. It also includes the parameters to include the farmland beaver damage control program. If council so wishes us to continue to apply for that program as well. So the first section of the policy, it follows along with municipal infrastructure only. So the municipality would obtain the wild animal kill permit for the destruction of the nuisance beaver. Municipality annually will appoint by resolution of council one trapper to act as the municipal trapper to be named on the permit. The municipal trapper shall carry a copy of the permit on this person when performing the duties. When Public Works has determined a nuisance beaver in the area, an authorization to remove the problem beaver will be issued to the municipal trapper as identified on Schedule A. Payment would be made to the municipal trapper upon completion of the authorization to remove the problem beaver and collection of the beaver tails by Public Works. Public Works supervisor must authorize the form for payment and then compensation in the amount of, and I've left that for you guys to take into consideration. It's currently is $40, shall be paid to the trapper for each authorized nuisance beaver removed. And if council wishes to continue assisting with the farmland control, so this is when a farmer would phone the office because the beavers are blocking something within their own property and that water is backing up and taking their agricultural land out. They would have the ability to phone the municipality, which they do right now. And then we would, we're compensated on a 50-50 rate basis with the province. And that has a cap of $15 per beaver or $200 per leveler. And the municipality, the Arm of Cornwallis will apply each year to the program. Each year that the program is offered to assist agricultural producers within the rural municipality of Cornwallis. So the program itself is the Farmland Beaver Damage Control Grant, and it helps industry service providers implement appropriate methods, legal and non-lethal, to control nuisance beavers that cause problems of excess moisture and flooding on agricultural land. So again, the producer would contact the municipal office should they have identified an area of concern. Cornwallis Public Works Department will confirm if a nuisance beaver problem exists. When Public Works is confirmed nuisance beavers in an agricultural area, a trapper authorization form is issued by Ag Action Manitoba, will be issued to the municipal trapper as identified in Schedule B. Payment will be made to the municipal trapper upon completion of the authorization to remove the problem beaver and collection of the beaver tails by Public Works. Public Works supervisor must authorize the form for payment and compensation in the amount of, and again, council would have to figure out what that would be, shall be paid to the municipal trapper for each authorized nuisance beaver removed under the Ag Action Manitoba Farmland Beaver Damage Control Program. And then I've added a couple sample forms for consideration there. So the first one would be used again for municipal purposes, and the second one is the one that is issued by the province for the farmland beaver program.
Mr. Chairperson, I didn't even have time to review this.
No, that's good.
Please,
I just wanted to ensure you guys had it, to know that we've been working on it, and if there's, this allows you to review and give changes
right,
if you so wish.
just a question, Mr. Chairperson. So we had a policy.
Yeah, we had a policy.
I didn't see it on the website.
Well, maybe it wasn't on the website, but
Oh.
we had a beaver policy since before I came there.
Also, it was a policy. Okay,
Mhm.
I recommend that we move this out. I mean, there's 3 feet of snow out there, minus 30. I don't think we need to be worrying about beavers right now. We were in a drought. So I think I'd like to review this for
For sure.
a few days and bring it to the next.
Gives you a starting point.
Exactly.
Yeah.
Yeah.
No, that's good.
So just so I'm clear, so this policy, if there's a beaver on private property, we took care of it?
So through the farmland beaver program, which we have taken part in for a number of years now. So the farmer would contact, usually at that point, the counselor, because the beavers had built within, we've got a stream that's running through, beavers have built, water's coming up, then we can take care of the beaver. Generally, those beaver problems are close to our,
Right away.
they're close to our right of way.
Yes.
But we can't be compensated back the $15 through this program for infrastructure issues, only if we're helping farmers save their farmland.
I'm gonna make the recommendation to put this on the RM website. There's a lot of knowledgeable people out there and our email is out there. I need help from people within this municipality to help me to do this right. There's been a lot of questions over the last number of years about how we're paying out and basically how, if we're getting grants back and all that. I suggest that we put it on our website and I need feedback. I need to study this. There's just, was just too quick. So
Yeah, I agree.
if you don't mind.
That's up to the chairperson. I agree with that.
So again, can I please have direction to place this on the website?
Well, was it Mr. Chairperson recommendation, and I support the recommendation. Put it on the website.
Mr. Chairperson, it's a policy. I mean,
It's not a policy yet. This is a draft.
what did we have?
You had a policy that was this big that basically said, we just pay the trapper $40 for a beaver. I'm actually giving you a policy.
Mr. Chairman, so that was our policy.
That was it.
Okay, so we need to basically post it, tell it,
Yeah.
we need
Chairperson,
people's input. There's a lot of,
to put the proposed policy
Changes.
on the website. If somebody would like to have changes or whatever, come
Yeah.
forward.
Yeah.
Either put a comment on there or CEO call.
I'm okay with that.
I'm good. I'm good. I'm voting yes.
Curtain sound that we put the proposed policy on the website for review.
Motion.
Yes, we've got both of them. Okay, we can just call it a day. Awesome.
We have item 3.5 and item 3.6. If council so wishes, we could maybe move these to the regular meeting or come back into Legend Finance following.
Well, there's probably, Mr. Chairperson, there's probably people in the audience that would like to hear, what time we should be moved to the regular meeting. This way we are not restrained, whatever, and then we can move the other meeting, like in the addition, if that's okay.
Okay,
I have, Mr. Chairperson, I have no problem with that. The municipal board hearing is one that concerns me, so do the roads.
Yes.
I would really like to provide the CEO information so you can put a resolution together. We owe it to the people in the affected area there about that municipal board hearing. I recommend that we call a Zoom meeting with them and see what do they expect from us, because this is going to be, that's big impact. So that's my recommendation to.
Okay, but if I might, Mr. Chairperson, what I'm looking for is direction on who is going to be assisting to write this report. Are you looking to have legal counsel assist the municipality? Or are you thinking that administration is going to do this report on your behalf? That's what I'm looking for.
I would like to see our legal counsel. I think we need to have some backup going into this. That's just my opinion.
Chairperson, this will be money well spent. Again, to get a professional, our legal counsel. It would be nice if we could go on the municipal board hearings to see what lawyers other places use, or if our lawyer is even experienced in that. I don't know. I would,
He's a municipal lawyer, I would assume.
well, I want to see if he's, if he has a lot of background experience in
Yeah.
those types of things here. So that's something we need to consider.
Mr. Chairperson. Also could come back to further make our case in the future if we have to turn down that application because of it. Here, if we win, that's the other thing. And then because the arguments being used there can be used in the application, you can move ahead if this falls in place or not. So like Councilor Hooper said, it's money
Money well spent.
well spent, unfortunately, but
Well, I will get a hold of our municipal lawyer and find out if he has, if he feels that he would be in a position to assist council in this. I do have copies of I think there was 3 municipal board hearings. So I do know the lawyer's name, so I could get their hourly price as well, if you so wish. So I can do that, so you've got that information. And if you would like to set up a meeting with the area residents out there, I would say it needs to be done soon, like really soon. So that, like again, each of those residents and anyone else, they have the right to make their representation at the municipal board hearing. And it's not just to be relied on from municipal council to make that report.
Mr. Chairman,
Yes.
when is the municipal board?
The municipal board hearing is on March the 23rd at 10 in the morning, and it's at the Spruce Woods Community Hall.
So we have to get clarification of availability, I guess, of a lawyer.
Yeah,
pretty
yeah.
quick.
Yeah, for sure. Okay, so I'm just gonna put on here that the council has directed me to get pricing on lawyers and to set up a meeting with the local residents.
Yep.
It'd be nice to have it as a motion for direction.
I'll make a motion.
second,
No.
all in favor?
The time is 6:57. How would you like to proceed with the last item?
Which is the last thing? I
The
don't have it
last
on.
item is those two letters of concern that were received regarding Whiten and Magazine.
Just a suggestion, could it be held in inquiries?
Yes.
Sure, hold it over to inquiries. Yeah,
Yes?
yeah,
Okay.
let's do that.
And then we can direct it to.
Yes, that sounds good.
Sounds good. Yeah,
Okay.
Let's fully support.
I'll make that motion.
I'll second.
Favor. Carry. Adjourn.
I'll make that motion.
Just give me a second. Yeah, got it.
You got it?
I got it. I got Bill and Bob. There's times 59. Do you need more? I could just have a few minutes, please, before you go in.
Let's try.
Yeah. Where do we go? Oh, that's- How you doing, my dear?
1 sec. please.
Yep. No problem.
Time for me to call to order.
I will call the meeting to order.
Okay. First item on the agenda is the confirmation of minutes.
We need a mover and a seconder. Is there any additions?
That's on the agenda.
Yeah, sorry.
I'll second it. Councilor Brown.
Anybody wish to speak to that?
Well, I've just got a question for clarification. If the floor is open.
Yep.
Mr. Chairperson, we had a, what you would call a public works meeting the other day here. Have the minutes not been published yet?
No, I
Oh,
haven't got the
okay.
minutes ready, Sam. Sorry,
That's-
they'll be
that's
on your
fine. Yep.
next agenda. Yeah.
Yeah. No, that's
Anybody
fine.
else wish to speak to that? I will call for a question. All in favor?
Adoption of the agenda then. We do have a couple of items that I wish council would consider.
Mr. Chairperson,
Yes.
I'll make the motion to remove. Give me 1 second, I'm scrolling down here. Delegation, what is it for? It's not, just give me 1 second.
Sorry.
My letter.
Oh, yes, that would be.
Yes,
Sam.
4.3.3. I will, I make that motion to adopt the agenda with dropping that. And 4.3.3.
Yes.
I was gonna appear as a delegation, but I chose the different route because there's something I own on this that I want to make cleared off. So, and then we're gonna make some inquiries later on.
But I do have a couple of items if the council would so consider. I would like to add 2 internal items. One would be a personnel issue that I need to bring council aware of. And the second would be a code of conduct issue.
Mr. Chairperson,
Yes.
I'm okay with that, but I'd also like to add to receive correspondence of a letter of complaint dated January the 10th of 2022. It's a very serious matter. I think at least we need to receive it as correspondence. We haven't officially received that letter of complaint dated January the 10th of 2022. And I'm involved in that. I mean, I'm basically, and I want to clear myself. I'm not going to get myself into a litigation, so I want to basically respond. When it gets to correspondence, I'd like to raise a concern that I have and just to make it public knowledge.
Anybody else got any? Call for a question. All in favor?
I'm sorry, I missed the mover on that.
Sam was the
Sam?
mover.
Thanks.
For that addition.
Yes, and we'll let you second it.
Okay, so I have removed item 4.3.3, add item 10. Sorry, 11, I add item 11.2 for personnel issue and add item 11.4. Somewhere in there, 11.3 would be the code of conduct.
Yes, 11.4. We are back up to. Public hearing.
Yes, we are at public hearing. Oh, okay, let's go to the top. Okay, here we go. Under the order of public hearings, the first item would be a conditional use application for conditional use application number CU-01-22-C northeast quarter of 15-917 WPM, and the applicant is Ferber. Consider a motion to adjourn to public hearing.
Any second or third? Anybody wish to speak to that? Call for a question. All in favor?
Purpose of the public hearing is to receive a representation from the applicant and any persons who wish to make them respecting conditional use application number CU-01-22-C, being an application to permit the establishment of a non-farm dwelling parcel in the Ag 80 Agricultural General Zone. We will first hear from the applicant, then from those persons present who wish to make representation, starting with anyone who wants to speak in favor of the proposal. At the end of the other presentations, the applicant will have an opportunity to respond. If in the response, the applicant supplies new information or raises new issues, then the others will be given an opportunity to speak again. At the end of each presentation, the members of council may ask for clarification from the speaker on any fact or issue, but will not enter into debate. Persons speaking must address the chair. If they have questions they think the applicant should answer, they should raise them in their presentation to the chair. The applicant will have an opportunity to respond to the questions when the other presentations are finished. I'm just going to see if we have any. We'll first hear from Barb Reimers from Keystone Planning District.
Request is made by Arnold and Catherine Ferber, they're the owner occupants, or for the applicant owners, and they've applied to permit the establishment of a non-farm dwelling parcel at the part of Northeast 15917 within the AG 80 Agriculture General Zone. The property is designated agriculture according to the Brandon Area Planning District Development Plan and zoned AG 80 Agriculture General zoning according to the RM of Cornwallis zoning bylaw number 1664-03. 2016. The proposal to subdivide the non-farm dwelling site was approved by the Arma Cornwallis Council on January 24, 2022. Non-farm dwellings are a conditional use within the AG 80 Agriculture General Zone. Approval of this conditional use application will satisfy one of the requirements for subdivision approval. The recommendation reads subject to consideration of any additional representation provided at this public hearing, and the council is of the opinion that such a use is deemed compatible within the AG 80 Agriculture General Zone. It is recommended that the proposal to permit the establishment of a non-farm dwelling parcel at part of Northeast 15917 as a conditional use within the AG 80 Agriculture Zone be approved.
Is the applicant in attendance? Would you like to speak to council?
No, I think it's been presented, unless there's questions you need to answer.
Is there anyone else in the audience or online who would like to speak in favor of the Ferber conditional use? Is there anyone who would like to speak in opposition to the Ferber conditional use? Is there anyone online who would like to speak in opposition to the Ferber conditional use?
To go or come out with public.
Okay, anybody seconder for that?
I said that.
Anybody wish to speak to that? Call for the question all in favor.
Okay, so we have a motion for council consideration.
I'll make that motion.
Would you like me to read that? Whereas Arnold and Catherine Ferber have applied for a conditional use order to permit the establishment of a non-farm dwelling parcel on part northeast quarter 15917 WPM within the Ag 80 Agricultural General Zone. And whereas council has held a public hearing to hear representation in favor and in opposition to the application. Now therefore, in consideration of any representation made at the hearing and of the application itself, The council hereby approves the application as submitted and authorize that conditional use order CU 0122-C be issued.
I'll second that motion.
Anybody wish to speak to that motion? I'll call for the question. All in favor? You're okay. Just take your time.
Next item on the agenda then is a conditional use application CU-02-22-C, part northwest quarter, 171017 WPM, and the applicant is Walkowski. Motion to go into public hearing, please.
I'll make that motion for the public hearing.
Seconded that. Anyone? Anybody wish to speak to that? I will call for the question. All in favor?
The purpose of this public hearing is to receive representation from the applicant and any persons who wish to make them respecting conditional use application number CU-02-22-C, being an application to permit the establishment of a non-farm dwelling in the Ag 80 agricultural general zone. We will first hear from the applicant, then from those persons present who wish to make representation, starting with anyone who wants to speak in favor of the proposal. At the end of the other presentations, the applicant will have an opportunity to respond. If in the response, the applicant supplies new information or raises new issues, then the others will be given an opportunity to speak again. At the end of each presentation, the members of council may ask for clarification from the speaker on any fact or issue, but will not enter into a debate. Person speaking must address the chair. If they have questions that they think the applicant should answer, they should raise them in their presentation to the chair. The applicant will have an opportunity to respond to questions when the other presentations are finished. And we'll first hear from Barb Reinisch from Keystone Planning District.
This request is coming from Dean Earl and Debbie Marie Walkowski. They're the applicant owners, and they've applied to permit the establishment of a non-farm dwelling parcel at the northwest 171017 within the AG 80 agricultural general zone. The property is designated agricultural according to the Brandon Area Planning District Development Plan and zoned AG 80 agricultural general according to the RM of Cornwallis zoning bylaw number 1664-03-2016. The proposal to subdivide the non-farm dwelling site was approved by the RM of Cornwallis Council on October 20th, 2021. The non-farm dwellings are a conditional use within the AG 80 agricultural general zone. Approval of this conditional use application will satisfy one of the requirements for subdivision approval. The recommendation then is to, subject to consideration of any additional representation provided at this public hearing, and the council is of the opinion that such a use is deemed compatible within the AG agricultural general zone. It is recommended that the proposal to permit the establishment of a non-farm dwelling parcel at northwest 171017 as a conditional use within the AG 80 agricultural general zone be approved.
Would the applicant wish to speak to their application? You can go ahead and unmute yourself, Debbie.
Hi, we're just asking to subdivide out the 10 acres, the house and the barns and stuff like that from the 80 acres we currently own.
Would anyone in the audience wish to speak in favor of the application?
I would just like to mention, I just received a text message from one of the 13 people that are watching on YouTube, and they have no opportunity to speak to council because there's no chat function on YouTube. So unless they're on Zoom, they can't speak. So there's 13 people watching that can't participate because they don't have that ability to two-way communicate without the Zoom link, because the link takes you right to YouTube.
That's, if I might,
Yes.
that is correct, but if anyone wishes to present at a public hearing, they either have to phone us ahead of time to get the link, or they have to come in person.
Well, maybe those 13 people weren't aware of that.
Mr. Chairperson, District, are those instructions on our website in a case like that?
When it's a public hearing, as in a case of this, there is a specific distance around the application property that they actually receive in individual invitations, okay? The conditional use notice is also posted here on our window at the office, so anyone can come and have a look. And then they can view it when they are on our website.
Sure, no, I understand.
I
those.
understand too, yes.
What Mrs. Chamberlain is saying there, like, they're watching it, but they don't have an opportunity. That's the instructions I'm asking. Is it clearly on our website at a public hearing, you need to do this? If you just want to view, you need to go to YouTube. That needs to be.
We are required under legislation only to send individual notices to those people within a certain distance. If others see something on our website, then they should either give us a call or call the planning district, and they would be given direction on which way they wish to go.
That's fair.
I'm in favor, by the way, I support their application. I was just the messenger from the text message.
Now, sorry about that.
The question is, our neighbor boards, they forwarded a letter to people this afternoon, I believe. With regard to this particular application. Like, what I just heard, the question is, are we doing something that may or may not be affected by the appeal board decide? Same parcel of land?
Would you like?
Yes.
And this might be a Keystone Planning District. The application that is before council this evening is a conditional use for a non-farm dwelling parcel. It pertains only to the piece of property where the subdivision was applied for, whereas where the house is. So the conditional use is a condition of the subdivision which was previously approved. In an Ag 80 general zone, if you have a parcel that it doesn't meet the requirements of the 80 acres, then it would be considered a non-farm dwelling parcel, and under the zoning bylaw, they must have conditional use approval for that.
Okay, just for clarification, in my understanding, that the 80 acres that we speak of, Ready Creator made the proposal to rezone it forage land. And that's up to the appeal board at this time, or will be. Is that correct?
Somewhat. It's not a rezoning. That application, again, is a conditional use application. In an agricultural 80 zone, an aggregate quarry is considered a conditional use. So that's on the residual parcel of the 80 acres. The application before council this evening is just for the parcel where the home is.
Yard side.
Yes. Mhm. And because it's under 80 acres, it's considered a non-farm dwelling parcel, and conditional use is required. Is there anyone in the audience who would like to speak in opposition to the application?
I do.
Can you please give me your name?
Yes, I'm Lynn Forbes. I'm here representing David Forbes and myself. I'll start off by saying we have several concerns regarding this conditional use. While we can understand the applicant's application as laid out here, we must direct council's attention to the letter of intent dated January 28th, 2022. In the letter, the applicants specifically state that, and I'm quoting, "By subdividing, it will allow us to continue to have some form of farming income well into our retirement years. As of today's date, the remaining 70 acres will remain pasture land for us to use or for us to rent out later when we are ready to give up horses." We must point out that the applicant's statement in the letter of intent is misleading. If the applicant's intention is for the property to be used as pasture land for horses and cattle, there was no need to subdivide in 2021. In fact, the remaining 70 acres is currently involved in a Manitoba Appeals Board hearing scheduled for March 2022. The appeal was filed by Russell Ready Mix, a division of the Cocoa Group, who have applied for a gravel quarry in November 2021 on the 70 acres Walkowski is referred to in this application. The 70 acres is still being advertised for sale as a potential gravel quarry, and the 10 acres is also listed for sale. That is a strong indication that Walkowskis are not going to be living there indefinitely. I would point out again, their letter of intent is dated January 28, 2022. We want to ask if there is a conditional offer to purchase or lease on the 10-acre parcel from Russell, Coco, any of their employees or relatives. If Walkowskis have now decided to leave the residual 70 acres as farmland or to sell as a residential ag property with no quarries, aggregate, or related operations that would affect the health and quiet enjoyment of other residents, we would expect them to be agreeable to have conditions placed on the conditional use for both the 70 acres and the remaining 10-acre parcel, limiting the use of said properties. We would go as far as to suggest that a caveat accompany the sale of both the 70-acre parcel or the 10-acre parcel to prohibit any aggregate development or administration of such a related business operation. If the council and Walkowskis are agreeable to those conditions, we would not have a problem with this conditional use. I have looked into paperwork for the Walkowski subdivision dated August 21. Under the proposed land use, what is the intended use of the proposed lots? And they have checked off agriculture and residential single-family use. They did not check off commercial, industrial, or other. It would appear to us that they have asked and received the subdivision using inaccurate information. Following the subdivision approval, the 70 acres has been advertised as a potential gravel quarry and still is. If I understand the Planning Act correctly, the applications that have followed and issues that have arisen since the subdivision approval should be enough reason to rescind the subdivision approval, as the land is not being used for what was put forth in the original subdivision application. This CU application or conditional use application should be denied, as the letter of intent does not align with present circumstances, or at the very least, the application should be tabled until after the March 22 appeals hearing, which regards the 70-acre parcel. We would like to state that we empathize with the circumstances the Walkowskis have found themselves in. They are doing the best they can with the hand they've been dealt. We bear them no ill will. However, their property has become the battleground. The Walkowskis, as well as all of us affected in these circumstances, should be fairly compensated for the situation we now find ourselves in. Respectfully, myself and Dave Forbes.
Mr. Chairman, I have a question for Barb. Now, can the previous mentioned application be rescinded because the application letter was not done properly and in good faith? I know.
Yeah, I've never seen that done, but I've had to look into that.
Because it's misrepresentation, at the least. You know.
Can you tell me how is a misrepresentation? We're currently, as of that date, which was stated, it is pasture land and will remain pasture land as of that date. As of that date, we do not have a crystal ball. No one knows what will happen. So how is that misrepresentation? And whoever's in there talking, can you please come closer to a microphone so we can hear you? Because you're just a mumble. You're too far away from a microphone.
If I could maybe just add a bit of clarification. So on, in your comments there, Lynn, you said that they ticked off agriculture and not commercial, not industrial, and then not other.
That's right, I looked up their
Yes.
original paperwork.
So they could not tick commercial, they could not tick industrial, because those two need to have a development plan amendment. The property is ag, it will remain ag, but under ag, aggregate quarries are a conditional use. That's the only zone that Cornwallis has that can have an aggregate quarry, is the agricultural zone. Just as a bit of clarification.
Okay.
Yeah.
But like I said, they still state in their letter of intent, January 28th, that it is going to be left as pasture land. Well, that's already a moot point under the circumstances.
It has not, as of that date, been moved to anything.
Is there
And
anyone
one
else?
has nothing to do with the other. I'm asking to subdivide my yard and my barn. That is my prerogative. What I do with the rest of the land that is totally different. It's two totally separate, different things.
And that should not be tabled right now. Right now, what is up for tabling is the
house.
subdivision of the house from the 80 acres.
One additional point of clarification, the subdivision has already received conditional approval. As part of that conditional approval, they must receive conditional use to proceed and get final approval. Okay. Is there anyone else in the audience who wishes to speak in opposition to the application?
This is Kathy Ward, and I would like to speak in opposition to this proposal.
Please go ahead, Kathy.
Thank you. To the Reeve and council members of the rural municipality of Cornwallis, this letter is to object to the conditional use application, CU 0222-C. In November, we participated in a hearing for an aggregate quarry to be established with the conditional use application CU 10-21-C, which was denied by this council. The proposed aggregate quarry met with significant objection from all surrounding landowners at that time. The initial subdivision in August of 2021 identified that the proposed land use was for agricultural and residential single family. Most recently, we have been advised that the owners of the above mentioned section of land have now applied for a non-farm dwelling parcel within Ag 80, and I'm learning more as I go to understand the process here. But this was previously approved by council in October of 2021 as agriculture and residential single family, according to the documents presented. In the most recent application, the applicants have indicated that they will continue to use the remaining 70 acres as pasture land. However, in the application for conditional use document filed with the municipality of Cornwallis on January the 28th, it also states that as of this date and as of today's date, the remaining 70 acres will remain pasture land for us to use or for us to rent when we are ready to give up horses. This is the same date of the appeal filed with the municipal board. A coincidence? I don't think so. If the intent of the land is to remain as agricultural based land, there appears to be no logical reason for this subdivision to proceed past what was requested in August of 2021. Unless, of course, there is another rationale for the subdivision. Furthermore, the conditional uses application identifies that council, in accordance with section 106(1) of the Planning Act, and on completion of this hearing may make an order rejecting this application or approving the application if the conditional use proposed in the application will be compatible with the general nature of the surrounding area, B, will not be detrimental to the health or the general welfare of people living or working in the surrounding area, or negatively affect other properties or potential development in the surrounding area, and is generally consistent with the applicable provisions of the development plan bylaw, the zoning bylaw, and any secondary plan bylaw. The last presentation by the Walkoskis was supported by an employee of Russell Ready Mix, and the concerns raised by the residents of this municipality included the devaluing of the property within a 5-mile radius of this proposed request for the aggregate quarry one. The areas of concern that were raised at that meeting for the existence of the numerous unattended existing quarries within our municipality, the destruction of our roads by the numerous semis, the noise factor, the extended hours, and the negative impact on our environment, the water we drink, the air we breathe, by the dust and the degradation of our municipality. Most recently, we have been advised that this conditional use application for the quarry piece has been appealed by Russell Ready Mix, a subsidiary of Coco Paving, and a municipal board hearing for the same is to be held on March 23rd. This application, CU 02-22C, appears to be contradictory to the request to establish a quarry 2 months ago, an impending appeal process, and now a request by the same owners to subdivide for non-farm dwelling parcel. There needs to be conditions placed on this application, and they include the abandonment of the appeal on March 23rd for the quarry application, as well as the removal of the stipulations that state as of this date and as of today's date wording. If the applicants are in agreement to maintain the intended classification of Ag 80 for this most recent application and the removal of the wording, there should be no reason for further subdivision of the property after their initial request in 2021. The land would remain zoned as Ag 80 for their future planning, as indicated in their letter of intent, to maintain pasture land for their horses until such time as they are ready to retire. Unless these conditions are included in the application process, then the council should have no reason to accept this application. In fact, it should be held in abeyance until the March 23rd, 2022 hearing has been held. Respectfully submitted, Kathy Ward and Todd Ward.
Is there anyone else online who would like to speak in opposition to the application?
Can you hear the Lockerbies?
Yes, we can.
I guess we strongly oppose this application tonight as well. We totally agree with the statements from Lynn and Kathy this evening. Pretty much what we have written is what they have already spoke on. As you all know, there's an appeal hearing for March 23rd at Sprucewoods Hall stemming from the Wolkowski Coco Group's first application. We suggest that the 7-page application for tonight's agenda be first sent to the Manitoba Municipal Board's appeal panel for their review before this application is even considered. When the municipal board panel sees that on this second application, the intended use for the 70 acres is now for pasturing horses and cattle, not a gravel quarry mentioned at all, then they should be able to cancel the appeal for a gravel quarry on March 23rd immediately before the hearing date even comes. This would stop wasting the Cornwallis board, the municipal board, and all of our neighbors' time and money. This has now become consuming and interrupting our lives and people's paychecks with days off to attend probably a needless March 23rd meeting. When the gravel pit is forever removed from anybody's agenda, then an application such as tonight's could be revisited, but not until the gravel issue disappears for good on or hopefully before March 23rd. If the first application was to ever go through, then at least the Wolkowski's house and buildings would be as worthless as ours will be. And that's basically how we feel about this. Thank you.
Thank you. I do have 3 letters of opposition that were received. The first one is to Cornwallis Council and Reed. We have a few concerns about this application as there seems to be a bit of confusion about the application. From what I see in the application, they want to be zoned agricultural use, which I am in agreement with. But then we have Ready Mix trying to get the same piece of property to become aggregate. So in my mind, we have 2 different things going on with the same piece of property. I would like some conditions on the property that if it is zoned agriculture, that it cannot be sold as aggregate at any time in the future. If that is what the Wolkowski truly want, the property to be used for, whether rented, sold, or kept. Thank you for your time and patience on this property, Ron and Vicki Wilson. And they live at the Northwest 161017. I have a letter from Joanne Edwards. Because of the lack of notice regarding conditional use, Wolkowski, Cornell, Whiten, and Thompson, please set aside a discussion or decision on this part of the agenda. We are a quarter mile from that property and got no notice. This remainder property is being appealed and discussed at a special meeting, and this conditional use should be set aside until that appeal is decided. A nebulous or missing description of intent without notice is unsettling in the area already under discussion. And the next is from Dwight Edwards. It's on the agenda and no one in the area got notice. This is something that should wait until all the appeals of their adjoining land are finished. Serious concerns about what more can be done on the 10 acres that is non-ag. Already multiple buildings there. This should be tabled to Dwight Edwards. Is there anyone else who wished to speak to the application?
I just have concern of further increased traffic in the event that such a quarry was to be developed. It's my understanding that there's already 2 companies that have approximately 200 trucks a day that are running around in our neighborhood, and there's discussion of rerouting those trucks. So to add any idea of more gravel trucks would be bad for all of us.
If I could just clarify, Carla, are you changing your?
I was under the impression that this was just about subdividing the.
It is, Carla.
Oh,
The application is a conditional use application just for the home site to make it a non-farm dwelling parcel. It does not have anything to do with the residual parcel.
I'll abstain.
I'll just put that you spoke to the application.
Yep. Table, that's my, until such time the appeal is finalized. Personally,
And I'm sorry,
Wayne Stewart.
thank you.
Yeah, something. They never answered my question, but she probably didn't hear me. I wanted to know if they actually have, if there is any conditional offer, purchase or lease on their 10-acre parcel right now from Russell Ready Mix, Cocoa, any of their employees or relatives.
I think they were maybe having a hard time hearing
Yeah,
hearing
no, I
us.
understand. Yeah.
Did we want to give them an opportunity again to?
What's the question? We really can't hear what she's saying.
Lynn, come up to the front there a little bit and say it again. Ask your question again.
I'm just wondering if there is any conditional offer to purchase on your 10-acre parcel from Russell Ready Mix, Cocoa.
No,
Pig,
there is
and
not.
any of their buyers. Okay.
Oh, okay, yeah, there is no
Offer.
offer on the. Right now, our place has been up for sale for over 10 years. We have not received a offer from anybody.
And everyone keeps saying that the gravel land is advertised. It's not. That contract has not been renewed for months, almost a year. So you guys are giving false information here. There's still signs up that they have. We've had signs on our property for years. It doesn't mean it's advertised like online anywhere. There's no contract. Right now, it is gravel land. That's all it is. And everyone's making a big stink about it. You guys know that there's an appeal coming. We didn't know that. We were not aware of that information until just right now. No one has told us anything. Seriously, we did not know. You guys know this information, but we don't. And you're jumping down our throats on what we see is going to be happening when we don't know what's going to be happening. No one has informed us anything.
clarification.
Yes.
The application for the aggregate quarry was not made by the Wolkowski family. It
No, I
was-
understand that.
That's
but they
right.
were also on the
But the
application as
appeal
owners.
was not made by the
Oh,
Wolkowski
yes, I
family.
understand that.
So the municipal board would not be communicating with the family.
Exactly. It wasn't, we never appealed it. We have nothing to do with it at all.
I know.
So then, Deb, so I guess to the Reeve then, or Chair, would the Wolkowskis then be agreeable to removing the wording of as of today's date and as of this date from their application dated on January 28th?
Say,
And what would you like it to say?
You just have to
As
remove.
of that date, that's the date I wrote up the thing, that as of today's date, this is how it stands. How would you want it worded any different?
and even as today's date, it's
Still the same.
still the same. So like,
You
What
can
do you
just remove, you can just remove as of today's date and as of this date. You don't need that wording in there at all.
Why? You all know it, you know that there was a query and it was denied. So it is still Ag 80. So it is still pasture land, what it currently is. How would you like me to change it anymore?
I'm not sure where that wording is.
I don't know if you can explain it to me. Else is going ahead.
Yeah, so the appeal for the aggregate quarry made by Russell Ready Mix will be going ahead, Debbie, just for your information and anyone online. We from the office here, we're required to publish the notice of the public hearing in the Brandon Sun one time in the 40 days prior to the hearing. That will be in the Brandon Sun on March the 5th. We will have it posted, which I believe it is as of today's date, posted on our website. It is posted in our office as well. One of the requirements, there is no requirement for us to send information to anyone who spoke to Russell Ready Mix's application when they came before council, but we will be sending each of you that spoke in opposition as well as to Mr. and Mrs. Wolkowski. We'll send you a copy of that notice individually and the requirements at the municipal board level for you to make representation at the hearing. So we're going to do that to ensure that everybody that spoke to that actual application receives that notice.
So
And again, that March the 23rd.
So Donna, just I don't know, a question or point of order, but we did receive from the municipal board upon application by Russell Ready Mix to anyone who spoke in favor of or against this application. So it's unusual then that the Wolkowskis would not have received this letter as well. It was a certified letter sent to anyone.
We were not allowed to speak at that meeting, so we have no, we are not on record as being for it.
Okay.
Or against it, which, so we have, they have no record of us ever. So that's why we got nothing.
Okay, and again, the date on both the application that you have made and the letter that we have
Purely
received.
coincidental. If they're both January 28th, that's purely coincidental because I have nothing from anyone saying anything from Russell Ready Mix. And I'll swear on a stack of Bibles on that one because I have nothing.
And
Purely
again,
coincidental.
just for clarification, the application that is before council today is only a conditional use on the 10-acre parcel where the residential homes are. There is nothing at all in the application that pertains to the residual parcel that council will be discussing this evening.
Exactly.
Is there anything else for this application?
Again, it's the Lockerbie's. I can't reiterate that how strongly we feel this should be set aside till after March 23rd. Deal with the first application and then deal with this one. This one would probably go more smoothly if we know the answer to the first one.
Well, technically ours was the first application because we went to in October and had the council approve the subdivision at that time. This is now just the conditional part of it. So technically we were first.
All we want as neighbors is to be assured that there will not be a gravel pit in our front yard.
Close the
Okay.
hearing.
Let's move forward.
I'll make a motion to close the public hearing.
Need a seconder for that motion? Anybody wish to speak to that motion?
Motion that I'd like to introduce.
I'll call for the question. All in favor?
I'm gonna make a motion here. Whereas Dean and Debbie Walkowski has applied for conditional use order to permit the establishment of a non-farm dwelling parcel at northwest quarter 1710-17 WPM within the Ag 80 agriculture's general zone. Therefore, whereas council has held a public hearing to hear representation in favor and in opposition of the application. Now therefore, in consideration of the representation made at the hearing and the application itself, council hereby defers its decision until after the municipal board hearing outcome. That's my motion. I need a second. I'll give my reasons why.
Kurt's gonna second it.
Mr. Chairperson, I see three parties here. Oh yeah, look at this. I had some concerns. Now my concerns are even greater, and nothing against the Walkowskis. It's their property. But when I listen to the people that are opposing and I listen to the applicant, but there's one party we're forgetting about here, the people that might buy that property. And I'm with, they don't know that property could sell tomorrow and there could be a gravel pit. Like Mr. Lockaby says, 20, 30 feet according to the drawing here. So I think we need to, this is a win-win for everybody here. Maybe even the applicants, if this municipal board hearing, like if the board here, if the board decides, yep, that application is indeed rejected, I think the Walkowskis then have to make a decision. Do they want to proceed? Or do they want to leave that entire piece together? So I think there's no rush for it. There's no expiry date. I think we're doing the right thing. I really feel this is a win-win for everybody involved and for future buyers too. So and when we go to approve it, whatever, I think we need to be very careful what we put in those conditions. I would think, yeah, we need to be careful here what we're doing.
Anybody else wish to speak to that motion?
If I may.
Yes.
I have just asked for Barb to get clarification if we have a deadline on the application. I'm not sure that conditional uses do have one, but if something comes up that council cannot wait to make the decision either in favor or against prior to March 23rd.
Then I will reject it.
Then we'll have
My
to bring
motion
it.
will be to reject it.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I just don't want to put you
Yeah.
in a position where you can't wait until after that, but I've asked for her to just verify that.
And for the audience there,
Is she looking it up now?
She is.
Okay.
Mr. Chairperson, the reason I want to defer it, we just had an application. It's not similar, but a subdivision out in Grand Valley. There was a report missing that if I would have had that report in front of me, actually, I don't think the application would have even gone
As far as it did.
as far as it did. So I think I look at this, we have to be patient. I think sometimes we jump into things a little bit too quick. And I think it's gonna be a win-win for everybody. I mean, we don't know the outcome, what the municipal board hearing will be. So I think I'm gonna, if there is a deadline, I'm gonna make a motion to reject the application.
Might I make a suggestion?
Yes.
To ensure that you don't have a time limitation, which. let's see, yeah.
Could be up to 60. Table it tonight. But I can't be certain about that.
So a recommendation then could be that council adjourn your public hearing at this time to re-meet again at the, I think 60 days.
It's possible. I'd say with the zoning matches, so I hate to butt in. I'm just thinking that Manitoba Municipal Hearing Board. I think they can wait up to a month after the hearing before they actually come back with their final decision. So I think after 60 days will be enough.
It might not, but that's what I'm.
Okay,
leaning
well, I'm
at.
just mentioning
So,
that.
yeah, and these are two separate issues as well.
Yeah.
You know, so really, you're really just answering to the subdivision condition for tonight.
Yeah, no, I know
That will appeal as a separate deal entirely.
If it's 60 days, Barb, what's the end date?
It's
On
gonna
that.
be the date of the application.
So when did that clock start then? So we have an idea where we'd be at the 60-day mark.
Words, oh, that was approved.
January 31st is when I received it.
January the
So,
31st.
so that would be March, February 28th. That would take us right through to
Right
what,
past.
Yeah,
April
March.
Probably
1st or
won't have a
2nd?
reply yet from the appeal board. They take their time.
That's the only concern that I have as administration is that if you tie yourself to something that you can't do.
And the decision is final. So if you decide tonight, it's fine.
But my motion reads to defer it till after the municipal board.
Oh, did you?
Yeah, I've got a motion. Can you read it out to?
Yeah, so now therefore in consideration of any representation made at the hearing and of the application itself, the council hereby defers the decision until after the March 23rd municipal board hearing. Which would give us enough time to have a special meeting in that next week, but you would not probably have the report from the board.
Theirs takes almost 30 days.
And again, the application is on the residual parcel before you.
Did you want to move ahead with it?
I'm gonna stay
Or
with
do you want
mine,
to change it?
just to defer it. We have time.
Yeah.
We do have time right after that. I think we'll have a good feel coming out of that municipal board hearing where we want to go. I want to be cautious. I don't want to be rushed into a decision. It's gonna be a win-win
I agree.
for everybody. I think.
We have a second.
Yes, I have heard.
Anybody else wish to speak to that motion? I will call.
Just a question.
Go for it.
If we don't decide on this in 60 days, what happens then?
Well, I believe that it could be this. You guys keep coming up with these new things here, you know.
Well, just
Yeah.
something going in my head.
It could be just, it could be considered as rejected.
It's
It could
rejected.
be.
Pretty much you have to make a decision.
But we will ensure as administration that we have a meeting for you to make that decision.
Whether it's a special meeting or whatever. Okay.
And Mr. Chairperson, I like the council brought to the table here. Question. We will know, I think, when the argument comes out of that municipal hearing. You can call a meeting right after that, a special hearing, and then we can deal with it after.
Well, I hope we have some better
Yeah.
clarification. Let's word it that way, because you don't know what they're going to say.
And as a reminder then to council, before you make your decision, the decision is on the public hearing that happened here tonight, so there will be no communication. Encourage people not to communicate with you because they can't make a decision on any other comments that they receive after this evening. Okay?
So, now, really, so does that tell you that,
So you're in a public hearing right now.
yes, public hearing?
And the decision you've been told by the Planning Act, you make your decision based on the information you receive at the public hearing, right?
Yes.
So once you leave the public hearing, you can't go, you're not supposed to go out and have all the, have chit chats with people, that kind of stuff. Because then you could be influenced in how your decision is made after.
Mr. Chairperson, you just made my decision. I'm gonna make the friendly amendment to my motion. I'm now gonna say to, basically now therefore consideration that we reject this application. It's just too many. That's my motion. We have to wait for, I'm not taking a chance.
We'll call for a new seconder then, or do you want to leave your name set? Okay.
So that your decision is based upon what? Why you're rejecting this? When one is not supposed to have anything to do with the other.
The public hearing is now closed, Debbie.
Does anybody else wish to speak to that motion?
Second.
Kurt is the seconder.
Kurt was okay.
Just another question. Everybody has a right to apply for a subdivision, non-farm lot. That's what they've done. If we reject it, this can be revisited in 1 year's time.
Subdivision application bar is 1 or 2. I forget what it is now.
Regulation makes 1 year.
Yes,
How long is it? For
12 months, 1 year.
I mean,
1 year.
12 months, 1 year, they could reapply.
Yes, right. Can we read, how much time do we have to give notice of motion to reverse our decision?
A decision of council on a conditional use application is it. You cannot reverse the decision.
We're good. Anybody
So I'll
else?
just say now, therefore, in consideration of any representation made at the hearing and of the application itself, the council hereby rejects the application as submitted.
Yes.
I will call for the question. All in favor? Unanimous.
Okay, the next item on the agenda then is under other planning matters. We have a proposal to subdivide before council this evening. Application number 4116-21-8363, part northwest of 31018 WPM. And the applicant is 7577509 Manitoba Limited.
Motion or motion?
Motion.
No, we're not in, there's no public hearing for this.
I'm
It's just a plain subdivision.
Well, I'll make the motion to get it on the table. Be it resolved that the council of the Island of Cornwallis hereby confirms it is satisfied that proposal for a second dwelling.
No. We're in the proposal to subdivide.
Yeah, but that's the motion. That's in front of you.
No, be it resolved that the proposal to subdivide application 4116. You're under item 4.2.1.
There. But what's the one down below?
We have a second.
Oh, so it's two.
Yeah.
Just to get it on the floor, be it resolved, the proposal to subdivide application 4116218363 being northwest 031018, being a proposal to subdivide be hereby approved, subject to the following conditions. That the applicant obtains a conditional use order allowing for a non-farm dwelling within the Ag 80 zone. That the applicant obtains a variation order reducing the minimum site area of the residual lot of 80 acres to 76.64 acres within the Ag 80 zone, and meeting all the conditions and requirements of subdivision as is necessary.
Second motion.
Anybody wish to speak to that motion?
You know, see, I don't see anything, people fearing about gravel and quarries and all that. So this one's a little bit easier to approve.
If nobody else wants to speak to this motion, I will call for the question. All in favor?
Okay, so the next item on the agenda then is item number 4.2.4, which is a second dwelling request. Applicant is Bonnie.
Motion. And be resolved that the council of the area of Cornwallis hereby confirms that it is satisfied that a proposal for a second dwelling from Avi and Nancy O'Neill at Plan 4 Lot 2177 or Southwest 36,919 as outlined in the report to council from Keystone Planning District dated February 2022 is in compliance with Part 5, Section 3(1)(c) of bylaw number 1664 of 3/2016 as amended.
Anybody wish to speak to that motion?
Kurt's gonna second the motion.
Now, does anybody want to speak to that?
Straightforward.
Straightforward. I will call for the question. All in favor?
Mr. Chairperson,
Yes.
can I have a 2-minute
Break?
sorry.
Yes. We'll recess for 2 minutes. So the smokers can go outside. Just stand up and stretch.
They didn't like a bottle of water. It's pretty warm in here. Yeah. How many waters? Yeah. What is it? We'll grab a hand.
I don't know. I think I'm gonna have to.
Me too. I need to rest.
My eyes changed in the last couple of months.
I just don't, I didn't want to put the other position in terms of the deadline. My sister
Time for a break.
Oh.
Yeah.
Sorry.
I was the one, I was on town council for 8 years. So.
This is normal.
I understand. Carmen. Yeah. Spent 2/3. Gone one more. I did that. So I've been through most of these, not kind of the same. Change and all that.
I'm on the 27th year.
Yeah, you can do it for a little while. I remember hanging up the daughter hours. Oh, it's good. It's true. It's weird. Stuff will be
So I'm. And I'm not.
Yes. We're about the same. Good time for a break, Phil.
I know. Yeah. You gonna make it? Are you gonna make it? It's warm in here, yeah. You know, my AC is warm. Oh. Really?
I'll put out this, like, within parameters with the items. And it's, few- and then the other.
We don't have those. But, you know, the thing is that there is.
Yeah, I'm ready.
Never come up.
Okay.
With the hammer.
Where is it? I think you have to.
I think it's just like that.
Yeah, I think so.
Yeah. And then I'll just write it down between each one, if that's okay.
Yes. You get the stuff you call.
I already cleaned it.
Where is it? It's going to get so big.
Yeah. Yeah.
Yeah.
We're into delegation.
Okay, folks, we'll get back to order. Thank you.
The next item on the agenda then, under delegations, would be Sean Samuels from MWM Environmental.
Thanks for having us in. I'm the sales manager for MWM Environmental.
My name is Ron McLean. You know, not the one you probably want at your table. He works for CBC, but I do know Don Cherry, just so you all know. I am a salesman. I work under Sean.
Sorry.
Yeah.
You folks have copies of this, son? You're all set? So yeah, we just wanted to come in, kind of give you a little update over the last 4 or 5 years. You know what we've been up to since your last contract. You know, and hear a little bit of, you know, the experiences you guys have had since you've gone to the curbside as part of the rural area, which is sometimes a tough area to service. And just to gain information, kind of network and more of just, yeah, a little bit of shooting the breeze here. So I do know your contract's coming up and that there has been some talk about some other areas possibly being serviced. And yeah, looking to dig into a little bit of that sort of information as well. So to start off, we'll just brief through our proposal, what we've been up to. And then, yeah, feel free to ask any questions along the way. So we have had so much success in diverting material from our landfill. We run a class 1 landfill just north of Cirrus. And you know, it's been, you know, challenging at different times, especially with the cost, right, to run a landfill. Going back, how long has your transfer site been in order? I guess I should ask. Anybody?
We have two.
Oh, yeah, one.
Yeah.
Oh, they're
We
close to
have,
the Shiloh,
we
right?
have Whiten Road and then we have on Richmond.
Gotcha.
Yeah.
On White Road.
Yeah.
I don't know the history of them.
I'm not sure either, Sean, what the age is or the history of them.
I've been on council 20 years and they're at
Yeah.
least 20 years old.
Okay.
At least.
There's
Yeah.
always been a dump, I guess, at one time. For as long as I can remember, even before I got on council, but that time we used to be able to burn anything and everything.
Right, right.
And that's getting challenging too.
It is, and so that was really our specialty. When we started, we were just transfer sites, roll-off bins within municipalities. We had about a dozen customers when I go back, you know, 8-9 years ago.
Do you still do that?
We still do that,
Okay.
yeah. So we're in, you know, Cartwright, Two Borders, Oakview, Whitehead, Riverdale. It's been very successful as regionalization of landfills has really come into effect, and the regulations are always changing, right, and tougher to run a landfill. And it's slowly making its way to the east. In all honesty, there's more and more transfer sites going up out east. We run a satellite shop out of Mordant, where Ron works out of, and we've just started a presence in Portage. So you know, we're spreading out east right across southern Manitoba. Our customer list, like I mentioned, we had about 12 customers when I started, you know, and now we're up to 30 customers. So I kind of always use that. It kind of speaks for itself. What we're doing must be working. We always encourage, you know, council to reach out to your local council members and other communities, get a little feedback about our service. Maybe you talk to Donna, perhaps. We do Oakview in Rapid City, Oak River, and Basswood, actually. We just put a bin up there. So again, municipalities, they start off with one service. It's usually the transfer site, and then front loads, and then curbside. In all honesty, we're trying to push for organics. Organics has been a little bit of a tougher sell out here to the west. In Ron's area, organics compost is very common. It's the 3 street. And you know, that may be something that you may want to look at this time around, in all honesty. So a couple of the programs that we've run with the card service is, you know, that's one you'd probably be most interested in, is our service guarantee, where we guarantee that service within 8 business hours. You know, if a road is closed, then of course we can't get there, but we do guarantee our work. We also have a program called Medical Assist, which has gone over huge. And what it is our operator will go out to, you know, elderly or disabled, and take that cart, wheel it out to the road, dump it, and then return it back to its original place at no charge. The way we work that is we have those calls coming into the RM office, as you know, the people in your area, because we have had a few that where it's been abused, in all honesty, so that kind of beats some of that stuff out. But we want to make sure that everybody can participate in our program, and that's one way of doing it. There's actually a company called Cards Canada, and I'm not sure what they're charging now, but they used to charge $5 anytime they would move a card out for someone like that. So
if you can run out to the road and run home, that's not classified as an emergency. Any bill.
Giving back to local organizations. That's another program that we're pretty proud of. So any recycling cart tipped, we donate back 5 cents for each cart that's tipped. So on our trucks, we have counters that we keep track of that. And also we'll have a barbecue within your communities to raise some money and match that. And it's probably the most rewarding part of the job. Ron, if you want to speak about that, you've done a few presentations and donations in different communities.
Yeah, we, obviously Sean basically said it in a nutshell, but I've been lucky enough to be able to go to a few of them, and actually, you guys don't have your papers here, but I'm with my nice gray hair, I'm right in the middle of this one here. And we just did one on Saturday in the arm of Thompson, where we donated the 5 cents, and they built there was call it a snow glide, and right in the town of Miami, and we went and gave them a check there, and we got the hot dog, we bought the hot dogs and everything for them, and it was very well attended.
Yeah, we don't want to be that company that just comes in, picks up your waste or recycling and gone, right? We want to belong to your communities, and we've had great success with that. And it's important, a lot of relationships, along the way, over the last 8-9 years. So some of the technology we use to help your ratepayers know when we're coming is Recollect, and it'll send out email reminders. As some of us, have busy lives and forget the day to get their card out. So that's very handy. You can just punch in your address and get a calendar, or like I say, email, a phone call, or a text message reminder. Contamination is always a hot topic when it comes to recycling. So we've gone with a tagging system. And the way that works is if there is contamination, we have cameras in the truck so you can see it being dumped in the truck. If there is contamination being spotted, we'll tag your cart and we'll identify what the problem is. It's kind of the 3 strikes. So 2 strikes, we'll make a note of what the problem was. And then on the 3rd strike, we don't pick up your cart. You have to phone the office, and we have to make sure there's a solution. Maybe they haven't had the education of what's acceptable and what's not acceptable for materials, right? We always really stress to work with the ratepayers and solve those problems. What's contamination been like in your municipality?
I'm gonna say that it must be good because we haven't been receiving the extra contamination charge.
Yeah.
The city of Brandon landfill, so they
Good
must
stuff.
be doing pretty good.
That's awesome.
Yeah.
That's awesome.
All our trucks, we run GPS on there. So how the story goes, ratepayer phones in the office, says I had my card out at 8 o'clock, and we can go back when our truck went by at 7:50 and it wasn't there, right? So it's pretty easy for us to help identify that and solve a few of those problems, right? Of people calling in late, and we do have one of the best drivers in our service area. That he's the kind of guy that would go back. Just to let you know that our staff is trained and really committed to the job. And we offer front load containers for businesses. We run quite a few accounts here in the city of Brandon, commercial use. Some bigger ones like Maple Leaf, the Brandon Hospital, to name a few. compactors. So we've gained a lot of experience, in all honesty. Roll-off containers for your transfer sites.
Those are dumped on a weekly basis.
You know, you can set up whatever frequency you like. The larger ones, we run 50 cubic yards at the transfer sites, and those are typically on call. I'm not honestly sure whether you have 2 retaining walls or how your transfer sites are currently set up. It's been a while.
One retainer wall, but they can handle 2 bins when we need them.
Okay.
But they overhang, right, to where the berm is. The retaining wall isn't quite wide enough for 2 bins.
I see.
But we have had to place 2 bins to be able to keep up.
Yeah.
Where there's no overflow.
Yeah.
Because then that causes a problem with your driver hauling them and being safe, and
Yeah.
you know what I mean? So you try and do your part on this end, and our transfer station people, employees are really good at identifying the problems. Like this Christmas with everybody not traveling and stuff,
Mhm.
we were just overwhelmed.
Yeah, I
For
believe
about,
it.
What,
That's a
3
common
months or
theme.
so, roughly, with extra garbage.
Yeah.
Unbelievable.
Yeah. So it was like that right across the board with
I can
the majority of our customers as well.
Yeah.
Any thoughts of adding a retaining wall to your current situation?
Well, we haven't talked about it, but
Yeah.
we have talked about the bottom part where the bins sit, because they roll off, they don't sit right to the
Well, it's
retainer
dirt.
wall. They're a little bit farther away because I don't see on your truck here the arm for the tarp system. That's the problem. I think part of it that we have now is that it creates a problem on where that bin goes against the wall.
Gotcha,
Like
you
the
can't get
distance.
quite as close.
Yeah, so that throws up a concern with some of the residents, especially this time of year when it's slippery.
Yeah.
And I was going to bring up the next transportation meeting we have, or if we need to do it before, is to look at doing the railing. At least that way they've got something to hang on to,
Mhm.
something that is the code, but not too high that they can't lift the garbage over.
Right.
Because I had that mentioned again on Saturday when I was there. One of our residents said that it's a big concern when it's
Yeah,
really
safety,
slippery.
yeah.
Well, when it's slippery, and I always worry about the kids because they're involved as well. They want to help, right, and unload and, you know, stuff like that. And it gets to the point where in the wintertime, those dumpsters are sometimes quite a ways away. You could fall down in between there and really get hurt.
Yeah.
And it would be a challenge to get you out of there, especially when you're hurt.
At Oakland Wawanesa, they've actually got flaps that they flap over to help bridge that.
We talked about
gap a little
that
bit.
here last year, but you have to have the drivers educated enough to do their due diligence, right? Otherwise, you're ripping that off. Now you're damaging the bins, or possibly, and you know, it makes it a challenge on our end, which is the best way. And then when you do the flaps, the part I'm worried about, Sean, is that what happens if somebody steps on it? It could be slippery, right?
Yeah.
Unless you do some anti-grit and then they're gonna walk on it to get it closer, you know, so there's, I don't know, we need to do some more discussion, and
Mhm.
I think we need to do it here fairly soon.
Yeah.
Because of the safety factors involved. Carry on.
Yeah, no, in all honesty, the bin closest to the retaining wall is the solution, right? And then
Yes.
with the railing.
Yes.
And maybe we'll go out there and just have a peek one day too, just to see what you're dealing with.
Okay.
So, we do have lots of experience. We do have the auto tarpers now. It's funny, I'm gonna ask the drivers.
They're right
tomorrow.
on the bins then?
No, the
No,
auto
they're on the
tarpers are on the truck.
Okay.
Yeah. Yeah, so it's, we figured, you know, it could save, 10 minutes a load kind of thing, right?
Yeah.
We're really about running efficient, and that's what helps us keep our costs down, so. Yeah, there's an example of a calendar in the back. again, education when it comes to recycling, the do's and the don'ts. We've done public forum meetings to help out with that. It's always a little tough getting the program off the ground the first 2 months. And you guys could probably speak to that from firsthand experience. But I can probably pretty much guarantee you that your ratepayers love the service now, after this time has passed.
So on I see you got the 2 bins here. The one is a compactor's bin, is that right? And the other one on the truck is just a straight garbage bin. Is that accurate?
That's on.
Page 17 is the one on the truck.
Yeah, so that's a typical roll-off construction bin, a 30-yarder, we call that.
What, I don't see anything here for recycling bins.
Yeah, so recycling, we run front load containers. So 6 cubic yard front load containers. And then we'll run our front load truck around so we can compact it and haul more.
Okay, see, so you dump that into the truck and then.
That's right, yeah. We do have one site that still has a roll-off.
With the doors.
With recycling, yeah.
Okay.
But in all honesty, to be efficient, the front load is miles ahead of the roll-off rate because you can't compact it.
And that's set up once a week?
The
rotations?
It's weekly on the front load containers in most municipalities.
Okay.
Yeah. As for, it's actually 2 Borders who has the one down in Pearson.
Okay.
And so there it's an on-call. They let us know when it's full and then we go and swap it out. Same setup, because that's what you guys are running here is a roll-off.
It's a roll-off with the doors, yeah. Well, we have 2 bins at each place. One is a recycling and it's a roll. They're both roll-offs.
Okay.
At both places, both transfer stations. And at times that recycling one gets pretty full.
Yeah,
it's weekly.
I believe so.
I think they could be bi-weekly for recycling.
For the recycling, might be, yeah. We'd have to look and see,
Yeah.
but yeah, that's something that we've got worked down.
Yeah, we've only got the one site with the roll-off recycling container in all honesty. The rest of them we gone to the front.
Okay.
So
okay.
Great success with that. You can put on about 35 6-yard containers. So that's a lot of bins you can haul, right?
Yeah.
So yeah, so that's basically it. That's MWM Environmental. Like I say, our customer list has really grown over the last 4 or 5 years, and we're really proud of that.
Sean, just a question.
Yeah.
360, that'd be the same size that 360 liter cart, that's the same
Yes.
size as we currently have.
I believe that's what you're running right now, the 360. We'll be digging into that here, pretty soon. Are you guys thinking about the extra pickup being part of the next contract, or has that been finalized, some of that discussion?
We've got that's the one that's out in.
Yeah, there's 2 different locations.
We got more work to do.
Yeah.
But we've got a survey out, so we haven't got all of the
Okay.
information, as far as I know, back from the survey to put a plan together to see whether we don't want to do something that the residents aren't going to be happy with.
Great. Yeah.
So we want to get their feedback off of the survey, and then we'll have a better direction on moving forward.
Okay.
Or not.
Yeah.
Or not, right.
Or not,
Yeah.
right. Right. Yeah.
Another thing, I mean, that's also for the residents, what council has discussed is we've just mentioned 2 bins. See, I would really want to analyze it, put the data up there. Is it better off to provide a service, reach out more to those designated areas, but we have to make it affordable. So people want to join here. I'm always, the amount of money we spend in our transfer station cleaning up after dumps, Bill's got a heartache already.
Well,
We're spending a lot of money. We can't control all the traffic. So I think a recommendation will come forward to try to expand that rural pickup in the condensed areas. I know he's running a truck 5 miles down, but I think there's an opportunity to reduce that transfer station traffic So one person can man it, but we need to analyze it.
Yeah.
Put it up, put all the data up there and see.
Yeah, and Ron can speak on this, so, because it is rural area, typically it's in a city or a town curbside pickup. But, we've done quite a bit of it in the RM of Stanley and also the, RM of Morris here, recently, and we've had some really good success, in all honesty. I will say that the 2-cart system, when it comes to pick up, the one cart complements the other. So if you just have recycling, garbage ends up in that recycling. You really need the 2-cart system, which I believe you guys have at all your ratepayer locations. So, and then some of the other places, where it's not as densified, then we strategically place those containers there. We do that for Wallace Woodworth for trash. So it's another thing, looking at a map, and figuring out where, the right place is for these containers. That would help alleviate some of that transfer site stuff.
Exactly.
Yeah.
So, yeah, exactly.
Some of the things.
That's another avenue or an option
Yeah.
to take into consideration. It all boils down to cost too.
Yeah, it sure does.
Yes.
You don't want to jeopardize the residents not being happy with your decisions and, them getting set up into the system, and then we're stuck in that, for the contract. They might not. I like to get their feedback.
Absolutely.
That's where the front load containers come in nice, right? Because you, like Sean just said, you can put them, save your transfer station somewhat if you have other, call them depots, I guess.
Yeah.
You can put 2 or 3 bins or whatever you need. Yes, there's a cost. You're right.
The other scenario with that is the position or the area where you put those.
Yes.
Because if it's close to somebody's property and it's in the summertime, and I understand that you can do 3 bins at a time or 4 bins at a time and still compact it and move on to the next. But is it, at this point, you might not be able to tell, but is it going to be like weekly, or, the cost is going to justify that
Yes.
aspect of it as well. So that's something that you have to take into consideration when you're figuring it all out.
Yeah, absolutely.
Because you do not want to get into a system that your residents are not happy with. And some of them already have a system that is, the RM is not behind. So
Okay.
they could be happy with the system that they have, but that's where the information from the survey, I'm hoping that we can get enough information from the survey so that we can figure out whether the next step is to move forward or to leave it the way it is in certain areas.
Makes sense.
Just for instance, we have, we paid for the garbage down at Springville Common. So that would be a spot that some of your volunteers could be sat on site for their use. So how often does that get?
Yeah, so for the Spring Valley Colony, what we do is we reimburse them for tipping. They pay for the rental of the bins themselves, and we reimburse them for the percentage of their tipping fee.
That could be looked at, whether it's.
Well, they got the contract. We got nothing.
Yeah, I don't know who has their contract. We just reimburse them for some.
Just disposal.
Mhm.
Yeah, no, it's always great conversation. Waste and recycling is always a hot topic everywhere we go. So.
Well, it's a big expense right now.
Yeah, it sure is.
And a lot of places are running out of room.
Yeah. Absolutely.
Yes, absolutely. That is coming up.
Yeah, it's going to be a problem. It's going to be, and not become a problem. It is a problem right now, you might as well say. And that's why your tipping fees and that stuff, why we pay so much money is because of that,
Yes.
right?
Yeah, I was happy to see the city of Brandon's recycling stayed the same this year.
So how much land have you got out in your area?
Yeah, so we've got a quarter section there. We did a study here not too long ago, and we've got about 300 years life expectancy of it. But also with gasification and vaporization.
So
of the
you bury it?
technology, we bury it, compact it.
Okay.
Yeah.
And it's recycled. What goes in there is strictly stuff that.
Household waste.
Right,
Yeah,
okay.
all our recycling goes here to the recycling recovery center here in Brandon.
Okay,
And then we pay processing charges on it. They sort it, bale it, and then ship it to ground share.
you guys don't process that
We
yourself,
don't know.
will you?
There's a possibility one day, yeah.
There has been some talk.
Well, I can only imagine the startup for equipment and then you gotta have people to
Do the
work it
work.
unless it's all automated, but you
Yeah.
still gotta feed it, so.
Yeah, that's right.
You know what I mean? And you gotta have people on the line to separate stuff because how do you know what's going in there unless you've got somebody
Yeah.
on the belt or.
Yeah, electric contamination, right? That is.
That's right, yeah, and then you contaminate a whole system. That's not fair to you. People either. Right,
Yeah.
yeah, so, yeah, I can see that there'd be a lot of thought put into that.
Mhm. Yeah,
There's a facility down where I live down in that area. They sometimes have as many as 20 on the belt.
Oh,
So
my,
when it goes around, there's 20. So one's
Yeah.
doing cans, one's doing plastic jugs, one's doing whatever, and then one's picking out stuff that's not recyclable, right? And on and on and on and on and on. It's quite the thing to see. Watch it. It's quite amazing.
they've got a great system here, Brandon. I can't say enough good things about it, all honesty. It's,
they move a lot of product.
They sure do, yeah.
They move a lot of product.
Yeah, they're very good.
I've
at
been
what
in
they
there and seen what it does. It's quite noisy and it's got its own distinctive smell. You know, it's all what we live in, right?
Yeah, absolutely. So,
Yes, garbage does have that distinctive smell.
Well, how else do you say it?
yeah. No, thanks for having us in. Feel free to reach out to us.
Okay.
We'll have a little peek at your transfer site one day. Yeah, just curious now where those bins are kind of situated along the retaining wall. So, yeah,
Appreciate you coming in. Has anybody got any questions for them at this point?
yeah, we look forward to hearing from you.
Yes, you've had a busy night, all of you. So,
We're not done yet. We got another meeting after this one.
yeah.
So with that, we'll carry on here.
Yeah.
Thanks again.
Thanks.
Yeah,
Thank you.
I hope we didn't tie you up too long.
no, we're good.
I'll make a motion. Be it resolved that the delegation information are presented to council by Sean Samuel and W&M Environment be hereby received.
I did add Ron McLean's name to that motion, if that's okay.
What's that?
I did add Ron
Yeah.
McLean to the motion.
Anybody wish to speak to that motion?
Yeah, just, I mean, it's a good presentation, but I really believe there's an opportunity to get all our numbers
A
together.
comparison.
A com-
Exactly.
Not just the companies, just to see where
Where you're at.
there's opportunities to, I'm having second thoughts about those people that get that service picked up, they're actually saving. You mentioned it, if we can get it picked up, I think we're saving that transportation some money, so when we analyze it, I think we really need to consider that. I mean,
Well, once we get all the data and we get it up on the screen where we can view it and pick holes in it, then we can have a better idea of what the difference is between the two, right? Anybody else? I will call for the question. All in favor for accepting it. Thank you. Okay. Does anybody else need water, bottled water? Anybody in the audience? We're all good? Sarah?
yeah, I'm good, thanks.
Oh, thank you.
The next item on the agenda then is a delegation from Tyler Holder.
Nailed it.
Okay, good.
Yeah. Hey, guys. Thanks for having me. I do have to ask, is this being recorded?
Yes.
Okay. I did have a presentation to do out of respect to my competitors and to remain professional. I might have some of those conversations privately with you. But I do want to say, we are here and we want your business. We are Esso's largest retailer in Western Canada. Since we came into Manitoba, we've been helping to reset the petroleum markets in Manitoba, which have been gone unnoticed by our competitors for quite some time. If we can get one more down there, maybe. So Sam, I heard, do you guys mind if I stand? Yeah, that's okay. I heard you speak about data and analyzing your data. That's awesome. That's
If you don't have data, you don't know where you are, you don't know where you're going.
Exactly.
Yeah.
I
work for Synovus Energy.
Oh, well, then you're data driven from the teenage years, then for sure. Are you guys familiar with the commodity-based rack pricing for petroleum? Perfect.
I am.
So that's public knowledge and it's posted on websites, petroleum websites, and the ones that want you to see what you're paying for full transparent pricing. And that's what I'm bringing you today. I would invite for you to have a little discussion internally and see what your discount is based off rack. Because some of the markets that I've been to in the last 8 months, we've helped reset anywhere from 3 cents to 12 cents. So 12 cents a liter can go quite a long way. I also would like to invite you to let me have the opportunity to test your fuel. I will pay for it, send it to an independent lab in Texas. That will let me see, I'll have a good idea what terminal they're pulling from and how their logistics are working. And if they're servicing you with the petroleum that they say they are. Sometimes I see fuel being moved around, from secondary terminals to service lower volume customers rather than a primary. And our goal is to move the fuel only twice at the most. Once, if we can, because the more times you actually move the fuel, the more stabilizers you have to add to it. So without getting too convoluted in the details and the fine details, I'm here today to say that we want your business. I'm not on commission. I work for you guys. And if you need answers and data analyzed, that's my job. So the relationship, I think, between the petroleum consultant and the consumer in Manitoba is broken or non-existent. It is 90% of the time, organizations and businesses just paying the bill. They can blame it on fuel prices increase. Well, yes, the rack might have went up, but why did you raise our price versus the rack 2 cents more than last time? Some of the retailers I've seen in this area are doing that to help keep their higher volume customers. And what they do is they lower their cost to satisfy them, but pass that on to the lower volume customers that do not notice. So if you are bidding a fuel tender, which I assume you guys do, there's nothing stopping petroleum companies in Manitoba from bidding low and then increasing your price if you do not know what your discount is for the entirety of the calendar year based off rack. And that's what we want to offer you is one, the best diesel in Canada, and I will prove that through testing. And two, full transparent pricing emailed to you guys every day, paralleling the rack. If the rack increases, your discount stays exactly to where the rack is. Yes, Bill? Absolutely.
What is rack price? Explain that to me because I'm not familiar with what you're saying rack price.
Absolutely. So that is a price that wholesalers, particularly the big three that I'm concerned with is Imperial Oil, which is Esso, Suncor, which is Petro-Canada, and Shell Canada. 99% of the time,
the wholesale commodity price, their cost to purchase at a terminal and distribute that to their customers is all the same. So if you wanted to, little exercise, you could actually Google Petro-Canada rack price. All their terminals are listed for you, public knowledge, and what the wholesale price is. Same with Shell, and with us, we email you those prices in turn. So without not knowing your rack price, I can simply tell you fuel has gone up and move your discount how I see fit to
Like
fit.
a sliding scale.
Exactly, and that's exactly what it is. With the transparent pricing in Manitoba, our competitors absolutely hate us because they've had free range over this area for probably 25 years. And we're seeing some aggressive tactics to try to win back and counter what we're doing. But that's not going to stop what we're doing. We know the right way is to grow together and to move together. And I can speak to the earlier presentation on municipal waste management. Those internal discussions that I said we might have to have, I had them with that company, and we're saving them roughly $12,000 to $18,000 a year just because we had maybe 2 hours of conversations. So worst case scenario, you guys get a better price from your current supplier after we have those discussions. You can say to them, we appreciate your business. We want to keep you. You've had great service. But we need to know our rack price and our discount. And I know
quality of fuel.
And quality of fuel. Absolutely. But as I said, with respect to my competitors, and this being live and recorded, and the possibility that what I say could be taken out of context and broken down, I'm not going to do that. I can have those conversations with you privately. As I said, I'm willing to test your fuel for free. It takes about 3 to 5 weeks, depending on the issues we're seeing globally right now. I do use a lab in Texas that's independent. And I have seen good batches from all the competitors in Manitoba. What separates us from the competition is our fully redundant injection process at our terminals. They're not injected on the trucks. We don't add stabilizers to our trucks. Some current suppliers, perhaps yours, use a dye injection system on their trucks. So you're not getting the consistency you're going to get from a fully redundant electrical system at the primary terminal. I hate to say it, but the AIs are a little bit smarter than the human pushing the button sometimes. Do we have any questions? I did have lots to cover, but as I said.
Well,
Sure.
It's been a while since we actually did our stuff. We did actually have a review with our procurement. Canoe Procurement is through our trading company, so they did a review for us.
Perfect.
A year ago. But is it just diesel that you have?
No, we have all petroleum products and
Okay.
heating oil.
Because we have the diesel that we have here, but we also have card locks. So
Perfect.
so you have that ability as well.
Absolutely.
Okay, good.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And that's one thing that we do have is over 2,500 locations in Canada. I'm sure you're probably just concerned with just here.
Yeah.
Finish and then come back to me.
There is nothing that we cannot satisfy in the petroleum game. What we're seeing is our competitors adjust to what we're doing.
Okay, my question is bulk versus card lock. Is it the same price?
No, it is not.
Okay. I know there's a difference between gas and diesel, but
absolutely. So sometimes
if our machine, let's say, is running out of fuel because of the hours, if it's a snowstorm or that,
right,
your card locks are what?
We have two.
Okay.
So you could fill up at North Esso or South Esso.
South Esso,
which is just the Trans-Canada, north or south on 18th Street.
Okay. What is that? The Husky, the old Husky?
The old Husky, yeah.
Okay, and the one at the south is where?
They're actually right across the street from each other. There's the Esso on the north side.
This is the only location. There isn't one on the south side.
On the south side, no.
Of Brandon, okay.
Of Brandon, no.
Okay. Okay, I got you.
So is there a lot of your work that's actually down in the south side?
Oh, yeah,
Yeah,
That's
yeah,
where the majority of the miles are, but
yes.
I'm not sure. I'd have to review that to see how often our boys are.
but I
out there.
can tell you, where you can get huge additional savings is let us invest in your business to see if we can bring bulk fuel to your yard. Because if you're going to that card lot, regardless, excuse me, regardless if I could beat that price or your competitor's card lot pricing by $1.50,
Mhm.
I can smoke that and blow it out of the water where it comes back to your home. We're not paying an extra offload fee. Yeah. So, and that's what I do for companies and organizations like yourself is I look at what you're actually doing logistically and recommend, like if we look at what you're doing and it's as good as what I can do or better, I will tell you that. And then I will work to catch up to them. But I haven't found that as of yet, Matt told.
Take to extract, let's say 5 years. I'm a firm believer, you gotta go back 5 years to even longer to get the liters of gasoline and the liters of diesel fuel. Forget about the pricing, just the liters.
Well, it's a one invoice per month, so, but we may be able to get that information
Like-
from them just.
Like
as a-
email them and just say, can
They
you
might
do,
have an
they
annual
must have a
for us.
program. Cause I bet you put that up there.
I can actually tell you, I have about 10 years of post-rack data. So I can go back and say on this day, you would have been this. And that ratio from the rack to our discount.
Compare it to the day that we bought it.
Yeah.
Right?
It straddles it. So you will never find, for easy numbers, a discount of 2 cents and a rack of $1. If it goes to 110, you're 108.
Mhm.
So we give it to you, let's say 5 years of data. Like the dates is once a month, 5
Absolutely.
years in an Excel spreadsheet. Can you then import your stuff and give Donna the price to?
Yeah,
compare to our
you know what
price?
I'll do is,
All you need is the liters, right? For both diesel fuel and gasoline.
And the date.
And the day.
Yeah, well,
The day
yeah,
of the year.
Because it changes, I noticed that
Yes.
it changes as, whether.
every day. I can tell you tomorrow, the rack, is going down 2.40 cents per liter. So you'll look online right now, it'll be 110.5 from our primary terminal in Regina. Shell is the same, Petro is the same. Where's Co-op's rack? They don't post one. So I would invite you to, if that is your supplier, inquire why they do not post a rack.
So your rack price kind of fluctuates with the price of barrels of oil.
Absolutely, and all the other marvelous things that are happening in the world, whether it's supply and demand, politics, supply chain, there's so many variables that if I could tell you next week what the price would be, I wouldn't be here doing a presentation to you fine folks right now. I'd probably be on the beach somewhere. But I can tell you that the conversations that I do have internally and the feeling from our customers, that all goes into decisions that I relay back to the customer, whether we expect, a low at seeding or a low at harvest or a year-end low. So actually 6 of the last 10 years, the lowest rack price of the year was between December 26th and January 8th. This year was an off year. So I expect for seeding to have a little lower rack price. That being said, I have been wrong before. The quality part of things, we can have those discussions internally, but I do want to take a fuel sample so I can come back during business hours and draw one. And then we can go over what each variable means, how it can be improved, or if it can be improved. As I said, those numbers I can't manipulate. They come back from the lab and there's a scale on them so you can actually see the petroleum that's being provided is one, meets government standards, and two, you'll have to maybe take that discussion internally again and see if it's not, what to do about it. And that's where we can help. Other than that, yeah, we want your business. I'm here to help. I work for you guys. You don't pay my wage, but text, email, phone call, anytime. So I do have, I'd like to text myself a reminder of an action item. Would you like to maybe get that spreadsheet and reach out to me via email?
Yep, that's fine.
Okay.
Yeah.
And then how would you like me to coordinate, possibly coming up and doing a sample for you guys?
You can just phone me
Just-
here at the
okay.
office. Yeah.
Perfect.
I never know if the grader operators are where they are, so we'll try and get you in contact with one of them so that.
Sure. I can draw it off your tank or I can draw it right off a piece of equipment.
Okay.
Either or.
Okay. Well, I'll get you in contact with them.
Okay,
Okay.
perfect. Any more questions?
Not for me, I'm good. Anybody else?
Sounds good.
Okay, I appreciate your time.
I thank you for coming.
Yep, no problem. Hopefully you guys can solve some of your subdivision. Sounded like it was pretty on topic. So.
Oh, they can be.
It's gravel, it's dusty.
Yeah, well, I did see their, they do have a gravel pit now on Highway 5 in Trans Canada, so I can see maybe where some of the concerns are coming in. Thanks again for your time, guys.
Thank you.
Appreciate it.
I think we have a motion then.
I'll make that motion. Be it resolved that the delegation information presented to council by Tyler Polwarth from DMM Energy be hereby received.
Anybody wish to speak to that motion? I'll call for the question. All in favor?
So the next item on the agenda then is reports of committees. Cornwallis Police Board report from Councillor Rossiter.
Just, will be a short report. We have another meeting shortly. We really didn't nail down the final numbers yet. There's a couple of upticks that are more or less out of our control. One is the COLA. The other one is the price of fuel, which is about around $4,000, and then repairs and maintenance of vehicle. We had two bigger ones. The one was the air conditioner. And please remind me, what was the other one?
I don't remember what it was. I'm not.
It was around $3,500, whatever. The vehicle is getting a little longer in the tooth, like it's not up to renewal yet, but gotta get our heads around that and get it to grip. So the numbers will be there for our budget meeting.
Is there any other reports of committees? Motion to receive the verbal report.
I'll make that motion. Be it resolved that the verbal reports of committees be received as presented.
Second, your motion. I'll second it. Anybody wish to speak to that motion? Call for the question. All in favor?
Communications.
I'll make a motion. Be it resolved that the following communications be received. I want to add the two vote thing, but we decided to put them in inquiries, right?
Yes.
But I think we should receive them as correspondence.
Okay.
Plus, I add that one there, Mr. Chairperson, and that we received a formal complaint from a taxpayer, very serious, somewhat struggling to bring it to light, but we haven't dealt after 35 days of a formal complaint from a resident. Serious allegations, and every council member is basically involved in that complaint. We haven't physically met to receive it. There's no minutes, so we can't even, in my opinion, Mr. Chairperson, decide what we're gonna do as a council. I'm named, when that letter states council, in that letter, there's allegations against myself, against two other individuals. That's not right. this council did not deal with that complaint. And when I just see the context of those complaints, it's uncalled for. Okay, starts off, I'm making a formal complaint right there. Council, I put the flag up. You folks didn't want to listen. I don't know what more I could have done. I thought benefit of doubt, that letter should have been received 48 hours later, but I gave administration ample time to do something with it. I give them the benefit of doubt. It didn't even show up in February. This is a serious allegation, folks.
So,
Mr. Chairperson, I've got the floor and I'm basically reviewing things here. There's comments in there that is really serious, folks. We are not dealing with a formal complaint when it's talking about trespassing and a break and enter. Folks, we need to get to the grips from our leadership here that this is serious. We are living in a country where we shouldn't have to wait 35 days to bring something of that nature to light. And yeah, we got a police board and all that, but where is this council? This letter was basically issued to council and we haven't formally received it. That's why I want to receive it tonight. So at least it's acknowledged. If this thing ever turns ugly, gets into a legal battle, I've done my part. I've asked council, let's receive it, do the honorable thing and move forward. There's some serious allegations in it. When it involves leadership and employees, that we need to deal with it, folks. And I highly recommend that we, Mr. Chairperson, the Deputy Reeve needs to call a special meeting and get this solved. Yeah, it's gonna have to be in camera. And it's unfortunate, somebody might not have to sit there because I shouldn't have to bear that alone, folks. As a counselor, I tried on three occasions. I have tried to basically sit down but nobody wants to do it. So I have no other choice but to. This thing is pretty serious. I don't want to be dragged into a legal battle. So
let's put it on the table.
Sam, can you give me the date, please?
Jen, formal complaint. May as well call it a very unprofessional and illegal act. Dated, we received it as in email correspondence, January the 10th, 2022.
Have you got them?
Yep, we need a second.
We need a seconder for
Yes,
that?
please.
Okay. Anybody else wish to speak to that?
I mean, that's for that one. Yeah, receiving. I do have another question, but I'll give the floor a chance for another.
So I've added the three. You've asked for me to put the two complaint emails we got,
Yes, to add it plus
that one.
that one. We have to receive it. So we are on the record. At least we've received it. Yeah.
Call for the question. All in favor?
What two that we added it earlier on. But here I've got another question. We're in the discussion, right?
About the correspondence?
Yes.
Yes,
the
okay.
correspondence.
please.
So is everybody? I've got one on that municipal asset management.
Yes.
Can you explain what can be purchased for this municipal asset grant?
Okay, so the municipal asset management grant, this was the grant that we applied for a year ago. This is to hire our consultant to do our asset management plan. We are not purchasing anything of this, except we are using the grant to get our asset management plan completed.
Okay, so when it says asset, what does that, we're eligible to get the funding?
Yes, yep. And
So-
she's already started work.
on the development plan
No,
or on the
asset
the
management plan, yes.
Now, what will that include? So that
Yeah, I had a
understand.
brief webinar with her yesterday. So the items that were in the budget, which we'll be reviewing when we meet with her as well, but so there'll be some community engagement. It'll be through a survey. She'll have specific questions that she has to bring that community engagement in. It will be having a strategic plan done for council as part of this plan. In particular, where it deals with asset management. There will be a component where there is some engineering that will be involved, but council will have that ability in that to decide what are the items within there that we would like to have the engineering done on. That can be roads, that can be building assessments, that could potentially be some bridge work, that type of thing. And then at the end of it, we will have our asset management plan, which is a living document that we will be updating continually. That will also give us a 10-year capital plan.
Sure, this is a question I have. Like GPS devices for our graders, our police.
That is,
vehicle.
yeah, that's
That-
nothing to
that's
do
not-
with our asset
When
management.
people read that, I was thinking about bridging and culverts. That's what I
No.
was.
And if you recall, as part of our gas tax funding, there's a requirement in there for all Canadian municipalities to have an asset management plan. It's to give you that better understanding so that when we have that list of
Yeah.
roads,
I agree.
hopefully those are already included, on our list for the 10-year capital plan. If we can't afford to do it in 2022, then it would get moved to 2023, but it's to be mindful. And what we've already been doing since PSAB came in is on our assets, we've been putting the depreciation expense into the reserves to help cover the cost of the replacement. And that's one of the things that asset management does as
That's
well.
good. Yeah.
Mhm. She'll also do a book or presentation information so that council will have that. New councilors coming in will have that. If there's new staff coming in, they will also get it to understand what everybody's role is and what the actual plan is about. Yeah.
That's great.
Overall, the cost for the municipality from this grant will be just slightly under $9,000. And that is an eligible expense through the federal gas tax fund. So we didn't spend it last year, it was allocated. I presume that we'll just move that forward again in this year's budget.
We're adding that to both together. For call question.
That was just a question about a piece of
Yeah,
correspondence
the
that was in there, Sam,
communication from the.
Yeah. Where we got our grant.
Okay, so I still need to call
Good
for
question.
a question. Okay, I will do that now. I will call for the question. We'll see.
Alrighty, next item on the agenda then is accounts and finance.
I'll make that motion. Be it resolved, the following payroll and general accounts be approved for payment as follows. The general account and payroll there is a total of $153,629.20. Be it further resolved, the following utility accounts be approved for payment. Comes to $567.98. Further resolved, the council indemnity accounts in the amount of $5,143.51 be approved.
I'll second it.
I got a question.
Yes,
on
go ahead.
on a couple of expenditures.
Let me bring this forward.
Yes, ledger.
Yeah.
The check dated, check number 10435,
Yeah,
January 26th, Henry Hofer beaver removal.
yeah, that was for beaver removal from 2021.
Also, it's last year.
Yeah, last year.
So when was that was that strictly destruction of beavers?
Yes, strictly destruction.
Six, right? No, it would be,
$40 a piece, so,
so six.
Yep.
So what time of the year was that?
not off the top of my head, I'd have to go.
We got the invoice.
We got the invoice, yeah.
I really struggled, like, in a drought year that we're needing to destruct some beavers. I really struggled with that. That's why I want to really review that new beaver policy. We need to do some work. These bills, and I'm not gonna support, I can't until I see and hear more details about that one. The other one I have a question is, I just want to make sure that the Blue Star construction, the $27,000 bill,
Yeah.
was that one last year?
Yes.
A late bill?
Oh, there was 4 late.
Okay, so how does that work? You pay them in 22 on, but it will hit.
It's
20.
so it's dated for December 31st
Yeah.
of 2021. So they show as accounts payable going
Yeah.
into 2022. Yeah.
So it's not gonna be on this year's budget.
No, it's not in this year's budget. No, no.
And there was another one there. Because I can't highlight it, we need that.
I think there's a way for you to do that in
Well,
your
I
stuff. I'm
tried,
not sure
this thing
if-
is so archived.
I'll
think
see
it's
if I
time
can,
to-
I'll see if I can figure that out.
Yeah, there's one more.
Yeah.
That's the most important part of the meeting, right here, our finances.
Yeah.
If we don't get this right, then everything else basically is,
You're stepping backwards
Yeah.
instead of forwards.
oh, the water truck contribution, is that an annual? Part of
Yes.
Elton?
Yes, it is. So
Yeah.
we have a bylaw.
Yeah.
It's a joint bylaw with the Arm of Elton. And so every time that we have a fire call and our water truck is dispatched,
Mhm.
that's recorded on our report. And our bylaw says that we will make a contribution of $200 per fire
Yeah.
call. Yeah. So we keep track of that as well as Elton. But the reserve account is held at the Arm of Elton.
And one Keystone Planning District overpayment refund. What
Yeah, so
is
when
that?
we did our final calculations for municipal employee benefits, because we had an employee that joined partway through the year, I had inadvertently collected too much. So when I did my final report to NIB, I had to.
Same thing with the one up very top. there, that
Yes,
same-
yeah, that's exactly what it is.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah, no, it's, we've come a long ways in a year, but I think I'd really like to take it a step further. I want to get to know the processes, all these bills. I'd like to see the invoices myself. I don't want to prove them. For me to feel comfortable. That Beaver one, it kind of brings it to light, and we'll deal with that in the new policy. But there's other ones there that if I'm not sure what the expenditures are, there's our time to ask, but I think we need a little bit more description.
I mean, I don't want to speak out
Yeah,
of turn,
yeah.
but your committee we've been having different people come and do it.
Well, I thought it was the finance committee. and
It
that's
is the
fine.
finance committee, but you know what? You're all members. right?
Well, I mean, I'm not officially, I mean, be like a three, but
No,
I don't mind
you
coming
really
by.
are. All of you are members of each committee now. That's what,
Yes.
how it's appointed. in the
yeah,
bylaw.
okay. I mean, I took it as, yeah, we're so small. I will start being a little bit more involved when it comes to financing because, I mean, it's just too much money to spend here and then
You know what? Give yourself a
Yeah.
couple hours,
Yeah.
come in next month and you can do the approvals.
Okay, yeah, I don't mind doing that. you know. So in speaking, like, now we're not, like, get information in general ledger, there's information there that will not be, when we're speaking about finances, there's some confidential stuff in there that
Yes, there is.
can councilors get a copy of the general ledger minus the confidential information?
Like the full
Yeah.
general ledger?
Yeah, like a monthly, you do it by month, the ledger, or is that the whole?
Well, it keeps the whole year.
Yeah, okay, but you don't break it down in months, do you?
We can.
You do it,
We don't print any of that. It's all done electronically in our system.
okay.
And when the auditor, when we send it to the auditor, it is sent to the auditor as an electronic document that they use.
Their document, or or their program, or?
No, we send, they get an electronic, they get a PDF of our
Oh, maybe-
document
I'll take
as
a
part
couple
of the
hours.
audit.
Yeah, I'll take a couple hours down and come by. But I really want to get into it. Make
How
sure
how we come
Yeah.
up with the numbers. You know what, and that's something that we have not had a lot of time with, is we haven't done a lot of review of those financial statements. They're not hard to understand.
And they shouldn't be.
They're
And
not.
we, for the first time, I will congratulate this council. For the first time, we looked at data there, a lot of money, 35,000 a year on our budget. But I think we need to look at that. I'd like to do one on the transfer station, on the fuel, things like that. Because that's what people expect from us, to be responsible, fiscal responsible. And in Excel, it's not a hard thing to do. Just push a few buttons, you got a bar chart and you've got a graph. And that's,
Well, and, you know, speaking from administration point of view, there are certain things that we already keep track of because we know the auditors need to have those. And we also are accountable to certain provincial departments for certain information. So some of the information we already keep annually on a spreadsheet. Garbage is definitely one of them because we have to report annually to a provincial department. It's just being able to extract that into something that you guys would like to see. So,
okay.
and the more we know every year, the more we can keep track of it as we have them, as opposed to having to dig through the year's worth of invoices and stuff to compile the information.
That's all I've got for parties.
Where are we at?
We are at a call for the question.
Anybody else wish to speak to that motion? I will call for the question. All in favor? Opposed?
I'm gonna post for that one check there that I'm not quite sure about. And I'm not related to Henry Hofer either. At least I think so, I've never met him.
Just give me 1 second. I just want to make sure I check that off so that it doesn't fall. Okay, the next item on the agenda is under authorized expenditures, whiteboard for the council chamber.
I'll make that motion, seeing I let the CEO to check into it. Be it resolved that we hereby authorize the purchase of a Vortex Prestige 2 magnet totally raised board from Staples in the amount of $239.97 plus taxes.
Seconder for that motion?
Yeah.
Anybody wish to speak to that motion?
Yeah, just, I think there's a great
Yeah,
location
right there,
right
the
over there.
blue,
Yeah.
the blue stickies would be.
When we have meetings, you do a to-do list and things like that. And I think we miss it. We're just sitting here in front of the screen. I think there should be a list of some sort there, especially when we do budget meetings, just little reminders.
Yep.
We haven't worked there, they work very well.
Anybody else wish to speak to that motion? I will call for the question. All in favor?
Next item on the agenda is to award your audit services for the years 2022 to 2026. So this audit RFP was sent to the 3 audit firms in Brandon, and I had a phone call from one asking if we were putting our proposal out because we were unhappy with the service, and I had to say no. So she said, well, we're not going to put one in then. And the other firm never responded at all. And I hand delivered that one.
So we'll need to move her in a second.
I'll make the motion as written, if you want to.
Yeah, sure. Whereas the Rural Municipality of Cornwallis issued a request for proposals for the provision of audit services for the years ended December 31st, 2022 through December 31st, 2026. Whereas the closing date was February 1st, 2022. Whereas one proposal was received from Census Chartered Professional Accountants Limited. Now therefore be it resolved that we do hereby award the request for proposals to Census Chartered Professional Accountants Limited for the stated price as follows. audit price for the years ending December 31st, 2022, 2023, 2024, 2025, and 2026. The audit fee is $7,295 plus tax.
Anybody wish to speak to that motion?
A question, because we have them and also we need audited financial reports. Will they just include in that of the council the presentation? or-
Yeah, if council requests that, they'll come, just like they did last year.
Okay. Last year, there's nothing secret about this or confidential, so can we advertise it well in advance so that people, I'm not sure if you want a public hearing, but if people have questions to email them in about certain things.
Well, we post your agenda 1 week in advance. If I don't have it, I can't put it on the agenda. So either we don't receive it and potentially miss the deadline of June 30th, or we move it to the next month, which is July. That's where the audit, we have to receive it and put it to the province by June 30th. So if we don't receive it, if I receive it in May, we got lots of time to do what you're saying. But if we don't,
If we don't receive it from the auditor. you're supposed to
yeah,
say
if
it.
you're wanting to
Yeah.
have all the public involved in listening to the comments,
Just,
um,
we can advertise it that he's gonna, the auditor.
well, because it's on the
Yeah, okay,
agenda
that's
that they're
fine.
gonna make the
Yeah.
presentation.
Yeah, okay.
But
That's fine.
again, your presentation doesn't include public asking of
No,
questions.
at least they can watch him on the screen.
Yeah.
Well, and we can talk about it when he rolls over instead of in front of us.
Yeah,
They
so
put it up on the
they've
screen.
already been here, for those that don't know, they've already been here, done my intern audit. And then they're just waiting on me to get all of the final documents, like we're still getting
But
invoices.
the late invoices, that's why. it's-
That's what holds us up, yeah.
Okay. I'm okay with that.
Anybody else wish to speak to that motion? I will call for the question, all in favor.
Okay. Next item on the agenda then is to award your proposal for your public works position.
Chairperson, I mean, there's a lot of, I personally think we should just wait another couple of days, call for a meeting and review it. 'Cause I think we're still a little bit unsure. I mean, I know it's a professional company. I mean, if we're late by a week or two, it's not a big deal. But I want to make sure we got one chance at this, so we might as well do it right. Yeah, set up a meeting and just go through, highlight the areas, what they specialize in, then we can.
You know what, might I just recommend too, if there's one or two on there that you'd like to maybe ask some more questions of, we could maybe set it up even to have them
As a
connect
Zoom
in.
meeting, or come in or have it on a Zoom.
Because I think too, the type of proposal you're looking at here, it's probably nice to actually have that face to face with them so that they're fully understanding what we're asking for and that you are as well.
Well, they might have questions for us as well.
That's exactly right.
And Mr. Chairperson, I'm still surprised Westman Human Resources is not getting back to us.
Yeah, I never heard a thing back from them.
Yeah, that's too bad. A local company, I mean, that would be nice if we, I don't know what their capability is, but that's fine. I would say, let's defer.
Well.
So
we-
we'll just
defer.
move this to, we'll set up another meeting here right away. Okay,
So no action.
no action. Just gotta get that into my table. Okay.
General business?
Can we do inquiries and then basically do the in-camera? I mean, and-
We've
Yeah.
got that one item under general business, and then we could do inquiries and then go in. I think that's just the one item, isn't there, Sam?
Yeah, I'll make a motion for the, basically be it resolved that we are not received the 2021 annual compliance audit for the Chater Public Water System as prepared and submitted by Christine Girardi, Senior Regional Drinking Water Officer, Manitoba Environment, Climate and Parks, and therefore be that the annual audit be uploaded to the Rural Municipality of Cornwall's website.
Did we have a seconder for that?
Second.
Does anybody wish to speak to that?
Yeah, kudos to our operator if he's listening out there tonight.
Short and sweet, that
Short
report.
and sweet and to the point. Everything is good in the water treatment plant. And let's get that water out to more residents.
Anybody else wish to speak to that? I will call for the question. All in favor?
Okay, so we'll just move up your inquiries then?
Yes. Yeah. I'll start around the table, the last one, because a lot of times they pick
Go back
mine.
to you. Betty.
No.
Emil? See how that little parcel of. Thing there, or,
Yeah, yeah.
do we have? Hear anything from
No, we have not received anything. So they haven't obviously done any remediation there either, Emma? Have they?
No.
No remediation, okay.
them? Come on ahead. Yeah.
Yeah.
I'll reach out to that person, Emily.
Yeah.
Okay,
I get paid.
yeah,
Website.
yes.
We need to make sure that we get all our policies, like that code of conduct that we just put on this. I
Yeah.
realize it was a transition, but we've got to,
We're finding that things are missing and they're not in the same spot that they used to be
Yeah.
when they did that transition over.
I got a recommendation. Maybe
It's a struggle to find.
I think there's somebody right in our municipality, very reasonable. I'll give Donna the
Contact info.
the contact, very reasonable. She will help us. Actually, she's not too far. She just moved out of Spruce Woods not that long ago. That's what she does for a living. I would highly recommend to contact her. I'll get Donna, I'll email you the contact, see if she could help us.
Having someone else come in the office and upload stuff would be huge.
Yeah. She will put those bar charts together. You give her the information. That's what we need, folks.
Yeah.
We're very much missing
Yeah.
having that additional person.
And we don't need an extra person. All I'm saying, maybe 2-3 hours a week to get us moving. We've seen it tonight, how information in front of our eyes changes the dynamics of what we see. As part of the website, 2000 and the financial plans, can we get the auditor who wants on and put them on? there?
We actually uploaded from 2012 yesterday.
Okay, well, I had an inquiry. We just charter information meeting. We can discuss that at the utility meeting when we meet. Next budget meeting, when will we meet for the next? There's lots of work, still a lot of work yet.
I wanted to start in December, remember?
I said back in November, let's start planning.
Exactly.
Could I make a recommendation?
Yes.
Is that when we do the next budget meeting, if it's going to be in an evening, again, if we could start it at 5. But I really wouldn't mind if you guys would maybe have a second regular meeting, because there's things that we need to get done. There's updates on some policies. There's some, that kind of stuff that we have so much coming to each council meeting, and then I'll do the agenda and I'll send it out and I'll think, oh, I missed putting that on here again. So it would be kind of like a little bit of a catch up in between the council meeting.
Yeah, if we need to do that, let's do it.
But if we did that, I think that would be very beneficial, but
Yeah.
it would mean a little bit of a longer night again. But
No, I mean, I printed off last year's financial statement. I got a lot of opportunities here. There's so much, and if we leave it too long, we're rushed and we don't have time. to
That's right.
analyze it. Yeah, there's just,
I mean, we could do a budget meeting next week, and then we could maybe do a budget meeting the next week, and then on that 2-week meeting, we could have a regular meeting. If that's something that's agreeable
I
to you
really
guys?
believe we need to.
Unless you want to schedule a Saturday, I know that might not be fair to you.
I am not in opposition to actually having a whole day
Yeah, well,
of
that's what I'm
budget.
talking about.
I am not opposed to that. I would give up the Saturday.
Or would that be too much?
I think,
All at once.
in my experience with these days, long meetings at work, you get tired. I think 2 hours if you,
If we,
Like
if
doing-
we can focus on
Yeah.
the different pieces like
Exactly.
you had said, yeah.
yeah, I think we need to, let's say you go after the garbage. If you take 2 or 3 of those items and walk through
Target
it
different items and concentrate on them
Yeah.
until we get them done.
and put them on charts and all that, 5 years worth of data. The gravel is the first one before we, I mean,
Yes,
Dan can do his stuff, but I'd really like to see the gravel, the amounts and all that.
Okay,
Yeah,
so
anyways.
what are you thinking? Like, I don't know, is it,
Any night.
I'm open.
for me.
is a Tuesday night good
Yeah.
for everybody?
I'm okay.
as long as you're okay.
I don't think I have a meeting next Tuesday night.
Well,
And could we do it at 5?
yes,
That way, because then, you know, if we.
if
do
that's okay
if
with
we do
everybody.
it
yeah,
at
more than one
5 to
person.
7,
Sooner the
then,
better.
then, you know, then we can go home instead of being here.
Well, we can,
It's just
can you do it at 4?
Well, no, I can't do it at 4 because my shift changed, so I
He doesn't
Oh,
work the same hours
No,
any longer.
work till 4 now, so by the time I'm all cleaned up and get ready, even 5 is pushing. I don't want to, especially in the winter time. I don't want to rush. I think 6 o'clock is fine. 6 to 8, 2 hours, I think we can knock off a lot of stuff if we all come prepared.
the only difference though, Sam, is we gotta look after Dawn.
Well, you know what, I'm okay.
You know what I
If
mean?
it's budget, then at least I can be fully prepared and grab supper before we come back.
No, I've got an idea. I was gonna send you an email, Bill. For those incidents, we need to do something for Dawn. Because she's out of town. I mean, she's 40 miles from home.
Oh, I know,
Yeah.
when it's storming or whatever, I usually get her to text me when she gets home, just to make sure
And let
that
people watch
that
it
she,
because,
that she got home, because it's not fair to her.
you
You
know,
know,
I totally agree, but I mean, that's
Well,
the,
how about, okay, so thank you very much.
Yeah.
Next Tuesday, which would be, I don't have. where am
I got it here.
I don't have a phone. 15 and 7/22, February 22nd. Oh, yes, because Monday is a holiday, so I'll be well rested.
oh, there we go.
February the 22nd is a Tuesday. And we are doing 6 o'clock. Are we,
6
or are
o'clock,
we doing 5?
6
What
till
did you
8.
do, Sam?
6 to 8.
Okay.
And I will focus on general administration for this
Yeah.
next meeting. Is that okay?
Yeah.
Yes.
For 2 hours. But if you could get Bev or somebody to get us that gravel.
Yeah,
That
we just
would
need to pull,
really-
if we'd have been putting the information in as we were paying the invoices,
Thank you,
we have a
Barb.
line, we can do
Yeah.
that, and we could just simply pull it, so, yeah, okay. Any other fiery Sam?
No, I don't know mine. I had the COVID money down.
You know what, I'll put that on next week's budget meeting, so
Yes.
that I'll bring it up to date for you guys, so you know
Yes.
where we're at.
COVID money.
Yeah.
And how it came about, because public still doesn't. know.
Okay, so next we are,
Okay, call for the question, oh, no, there's a question, what are we thinking, I'm
that's
sorry.
okay, that's
Yeah.
okay. That's usually my
Let me
question.
just hit.
Where are we?
Okay, so the next item on the agenda then is a in-camera session for personnel. So that means we're closing the meeting.
Okay.
Sorry.
May I just ask a quick question? I was wondering about what made the decision to get legal counsel for the hearing in March.
We didn't have time at the last meeting to finish that, but I believe that I am to contact a few lawyers to get some pricing and.
Yes,
go from
We need
there.
it.
Yes.
I mean, my opinion is, that's only my opinion. When you go, no doubt, they'll probably have a lawyer there. I mean,
Yeah.
there's
they-
nobody around says council chamber. has the expertise to argue or bring up some points that need to be brought up.
Like I said, you may want to try or contact some of the lawyers that represented the RMs in previous appeals.
So, yeah, that's, I think, our next step, Linda.
Okay, awesome, thank you.
Appreciate
you,
you
Lynn.
coming. And drive safe.
Yeah, I will do. Night.
Night.
So we're in capital. So
We haven't gone in camera yet. We just need to use the motion and then follow up.
Are we waiting for Bob or?
we're still gonna go into the utility meeting after this. No, I don't need it. I mean, if it was just something that was on our agenda, there's nothing pressing. You probably don't have the answer.
Let's get going on a break.
Yeah, let's defer it. There's nothing pressing until Dan gives us
His report and a date
Yeah.
that we can meet with them.
Exactly.
Right.
I have no
I'm
problem.
kind of waiting for that date.
Yeah, I haven't got that yet.
And we need to do some work anyways.
Yep. Need a seconder for that? All for the question, all in favor?
Okay, if you'll just.
Okay, so now I will leave.
No, I just need to
Shut that.
turn our Zoom here.
You can shut that off.